October. Don't forget, gifting goal today. As always, please consider joining our team. We are crowdfunded here. You'll want to support the channel, the various appetizers that exist out there in social spaces. They're all at Factsstillmatter. Thank you, as always. Never expected, always appreciated. If you've not yet joined our Discord, please consider doing that. You can find the link to that in the link tree that's in my bio. Also, if you've not been to the Facts merch store in a while, you can pick up this fabulous shirt, PBS, NPR, FDT. That's available at the Facts HQ. Or at factsstillmatter.site. So yes, thank you for being here. We have a lot to talk about, as always, but when do we not? As I mentioned, it is October. You'll notice the pink ribbon because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Observed every October, raises awareness about breast cancer risk, screening, early detection, support, and research. The pink ribbon is a widely used symbol associated with raising awareness. Within October, there are also specific observances. Metastatic Breast Cancer Awareness Day is on October the 13th. It's used to highlight the needs of those with the advanced disease. Globally, breast cancer is the most frequently diagnosed cancer in women. About 2.3 million women, 2.3 million cases, new cases per year. In the U.S. in 2025, an estimated 316,950 women will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer. Additionally, about 59,080 new cases of ductal carcinoma. That's expected, and it is estimated that 42,000 women will lose their life from breast cancer in this year alone. Approximately 1 in 8 women, which is about 13% in the U.S., will develop breast cancer at some point. There are over 4 million breast cancer survivors in the U.S., including those still in treatment and those who've completed treatment. The 5-year relative survival for breast cancer patients overall is around 92%, though this varies at various stages. If a breast cancer is caught at a localized stage, the 5-year relative survival rate is very high, around 99%. Since 1989, breast cancer mortality rate in the U.S. women has decreased by nearly 45%, thanks in part to better treatment, research, and detection. And a lot of that funding to develop these treatment plans comes from the feds that is now under threat of being cut. Well, is being cut. However, rates have shown slight increases in many groups in recent years. Racial and ethnic disparities exist. For example, Black women have a higher death rate from breast cancer than white women. There's a lot to unpack with that. Black women are also more likely to get triple negative breast cancers, which is more aggressive and harder to treat. The most frequent presenting symptom is a lump, followed by nipple abnormalities, pain, or other non-lump symptoms. However, a substantial minority present with non-lump symptoms only, which may contribute to delays in seeking care. Early detection through screening. Please, please, please protect the tatas. Thank you, friends. And again, there's amazing organizations out there. The Susan G. Komen Breast Cancer Foundation, all kinds of causes. We'll provide more resources. But again, it is October Awareness Month. And please, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So please do what's necessary. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you. So we obviously have a lot to cover. We've got to talk about the government shutdown because in case you're just waking up, yes, the government is shut down. We'll be tracking that because you would expect things to kind of settle today a little bit. We're going to talk about some historical significance. And we have to talk about the, I don't even know what to call it, the speech in front of the Army brass yesterday. Listen, here's the thing. Pete Hegseth is desperate to be respected. He obviously was not respected at Fox News, which is weird. Think about that for a second. He's obviously wasn't respected at the various organizations that he established because he was known to be completely hammered off his ass at various events, groping women, kidnapping women, all kinds of shit. He's desperate to be respected. So he thinks, in my opinion alone, he thinks that respect comes with the title, right? He's the Secretary of War. And that title gives him immediate respect. Nobody likes him. He's despised. There's all kinds of reporting from anonymous sources and the whole 9 yards, whatever it might be, that he is just despised. It's a clown show. So he goes up on stage yesterday and he uses his media training, knows how to address a crowd, knows how to move in front of a crowd, knows how to emphasize FO, one of those moments, right? The pause for effect, expecting a reaction. And the brass just sits there like crickets. Just complete crickets. And yes, some of the things that he said were horrible. No doubt about it, especially for marginalized communities that already exist in the military that are already a threat. Women in particular, like this whole whistleblower thing that, we're just basically not going to believe you. Shocker. And if you present, thank you, Swishy Raiders. Hearts in the chat for the Swishy Raiders, please, guys. They do that. They rate us every single day. Big hearts in the chat for Swishy Raiders. You in particular, Swish. So women who are already assaulted in the military are told now that we're not going to believe you. Just keep your mouth shut. Right? Changing the standards, talking about grooming practices, which impacts a lot of people. Brown and black members of the military who serve based on hair. Sometimes shaving is not something it's always easy to do. The way in which hair grows, or religious protections from uniforms. I mean, it was an absolute disaster. A nightmare. And the responses from, as expected, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather, so apologize for the voice, but the reaction from the brass and from enlisted. If you want to watch, our friend Daniela, knitting cult lady, you can go back and watch some of her videos, because she, of course, nails it. Her unique experience, one of the first women to serve in a forward combat division. So she's been there. She was there during integration. So she fucking gets it. And if you want to feel a little bit better, go check out her video, because it's great. But that was the whole game. And because there was a moment for attention, the twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing, fraudulent convicted felon, name on a list predator, incompetent buffoon, had to show up. So the micro dick stroking session could not continue unless he was there. And as expected, it was a disaster. The things that he said, just talking about war-torn Portland and using American cities as test grounds. He told us he was going to be a dictator for a day. We told his voters that this was his plan. We already have seen dictatorial tendencies and the rise of authoritarianism, although it's not rising, it's here now. And then now we're going to use the U.S. military on the streets of American cities to do what? To do what? To hide from the Epstein files, in my opinion. To hide from all the other corruption, because he doesn't give a fuck about the government shutting down, doesn't fucking care, doesn't care about ACA subsidies, doesn't care how it would impact people, doesn't give a fuck, doesn't fucking care. Actually, I'm going to bring up Crow, because I want to talk to my brother here. Sorry, Victoria. We're gonna really unpack the shutdown in just a moment. But Crow reached out to me and said, "Hey, should I come up and give you the breakdown?" So yes, thanks for being here, bro. Thanks for reaching out. I appreciate you.
Don't mind the background noise. It's Wednesday, which means I do my one piece of joy every week, which is I go down to the French pastry shop that opened in town to get my wife and I pastries.
Bro, sweet. Don't rub it in. All right. So what's the summary?
This is where people are going to have to learn the difference between mandatory spending, block grants, discretionary grants, and how all of that works. Because the short version, and I'll elaborate, I just want to give the short version up front, is anything that's mandatory spending continues without issue. Block grants continue until those grants are empty. And discretionary spending is where it gets a lot fucking weirder. So mandatory
would be Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, salaries for members of Congress, things like that, right?
The VA is also on that list of mandatory spending.
VA, right? Okay.
Grants are going to be programs like LIHEAP. We already got our block grant nationally for the winter 2025 season, so that should be good. LIHEAP, for those who don't know, it's a heating and energy assistance program specifically targeted towards people with children and the elderly, people that are more susceptible to heat or cooling if they're behind on their power bill. We just cut a check straight to their heating or cooling provider. And that's all grant funded twice a year, once for the winter, once for the summer. So we've already gotten the winter fund, so that won't be affected. Where it gets weirder, WIC is the one most in danger because of just how WIC works mechanically. So WIC, because of the nature of how it operates, is probably going to be the one that stops first. And that's just for women with like pregnant women and women with newborns. That's the one that goes first, just because while we handle the application process at a state level, that's wholly federal and wholly discretionary. SNAP is next because SNAP is block funded every month. So like October covered, November TANF just gone. TANF is just frozen. TANF is cash assistance. TANF is just fucking flat frozen, because TANF is entirely grant funded and entirely run through the feds. This is where we're getting into the nuance of block funded, discretionary funded, grant funded, and mandatory funded. So the mandatory funded are fine. The other three categories, it's gonna get weird at different times. And with all of them regardless, you're gonna run into bottlenecks. So even Social Security disability, mandatory spending, that's only gonna apply for existing, because if they're going to furlough workers until this is over, that's less workers to process new applications, which is going to create a bottleneck. We've seen this in every shutdown, and this isn't everything. So SNAP, same thing. We'll get a bottleneck. All social programs will experience a bottleneck, which will cause a delay in getting those funds, because we will be running on less people without having less applicants.
Right, processing times. Okay, makes sense.
On top of having reduced access to funds, we're also going to have reduced turnaround time, or like lengthened turnaround times for new applicants.
Okay.
Got any other questions, or if I just keep fucking spewing?
Yeah, no. So, I mean, again, I think so for folks to understand, obviously, there's a couple of specifics here. Office of OMB has talked about a reduction in force. That's part of Project 2025, that what employees in the past who were furloughed would receive back pay once things got back working. Part of what Russ Vaught and OMB has talked about is basically just terminating these people. Like tens of thousands.
That's going to apply to federal
jobs.
Workers. State employees
exactly.
like myself are in a weird limbo, because so while I administer federal funds, so my entire job is to take your tax dollars and help put them in the hands of the people that need them, be it SNAP or medical or whatever. I'm paid by the state of Pennsylvania. So the federal furlough doesn't directly impact me, but it will indirectly impact me. Because without access to like the SNAP system or the new Medicare system or any of those other systems, a lot of my job will be sitting on my hands. Because like if I can't access those systems because those systems are down because of the shutdown, I'm going to get paid to do nothing. And then the state of Pennsylvania is going to go, well, we paid you to do nothing for a week. We can't keep paying you to do nothing. So we're going to furlough you too. And it'll create a domino effect.
Right. So backlog. So people, even though there are mandatory spending, it's going to be a backlog because there's going to be a reduction in force. People are going to ask to come to work, like
Correct.
members of TSA, and other like food safety people are going to be asked to come to work and not get paid. So this is problematic. I think those are the
last time I was in this position, I was in the military. I spent like a month and a half not getting paid in the military because this was way back in the day, where you're expected to come to duty and just not get paid. And so I sat down last night and I had to do all the math to figure out like if I get furloughed tomorrow, what happens in my household? Because It's great that I'll get paid at the end. It doesn't help me until that paycheck clears. Like, correct. I still got a mortgage. I still got to get food. I still got to get power. I still got to get all that shit. And like all those companies aren't the government, so they're not going to give a shit.
Yeah, they're not. Thanks for jumping in today, bro. I appreciate that. Enjoy your pastry, while you still can.
This is where I'll go out on my constant reminder that I know you're all panicking right now. Think about how the frontline workers feel, because like, I am now going to go to work in 45 minutes, and I expect that my day will be full of phone calls of people who just woke up, saw the news, and saw that the government shut down, and are going to call me in a terror panic. And that will be my day until the government is no longer shut down.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate the work that you do, brother, and for your insight. It's a great way to start your day. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you, buddy. Have a good one. Be safe out there.
Safe.
All right, man. I appreciate Crow doing that for us. It's always good to hear from him. Let's talk to our friend Fish.
Yo.
Good morning, my brother. How are you?
Yo. Good. I'll be quick as usual. Funny thing about yesterday, if you did watch it, or the Hezguest part, he takes a sip of his coffee and he has to announce to everybody, "I'm taking a sip of coffee." That was pretty funny. But
that's wild.
But I did just want to, something that's been on my brain and it's just kind of eating at me, is that when is the media and when are other lawmakers going to start holding Trump and everyone else accountable for telling lies? Just continuous lies. Like, how can you put that on TV? How can you just sit there and say that the Democrats want to shut down so they can give money to undocumented people for insurance? And there's no accountability. And unfortunately, these people on the other side, which, they get lied to, they believe it. And there's no, I don't feel like anything is going to change until lies start getting called out. So that's all I got.
I don't disagree with you, bro. That's that free speech argument, right? I mean, that the fairness doctrine creates a situation like Fox News, and that's why people should be investing in independent journalists, and that's why people should be focusing on making sure that PBS, NPR, and he left. See you, buddy. That's why these things are important. Because I agree. I mean, for Mike Johnson and Senate Republicans and House Republicans to say that what the Democrats want is to give Medicaid to illegals is just not true. It's just flat out not true. They're not eligible for it. It's flat out not true. It's just not true. And until we can work through that by addressing the truth behind it, it's not going to change. Which is why we do what we do here every single day. That's primarily why we do it. We talk about it in many terms, but this is why we do it. So, good morning, Nitwit. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Yeah, they keep claiming that they're cutting those cuts are that money was going to people who weren't eligible. I understand you're claiming that people that are illegal aren't eligible, but they found people that were on the Medicare rolls that were ineligible, and they took them off those rolls. They took them off the rolls.
Nitwit.
That money. They cut that money.
Bro. Hold on. Slow down. Don't steamroll. Okay. Who did? Who found it?
Whoever looked into the Medicare roll or looked into the Medicare spending. I guess
so.
Doge might have looked into
right. So Doge. So think about what you just said. So Doge also made the claim. Have you gotten your Doge check yet? By the way,
I saw an article yesterday that it was supposed to be coming in October, maybe.
Right. It was supposed to come in May, and then June, and then July, and then August, and then September, then October. So are you expecting it?
How is that relevant? Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
Because it's bullshit, right? Because it's bullshit. So what you're talking about is
I do believe they'll put out a check. I mean, it's if nothing else, it's good for the midterms.
Right. So you believe that you really believe you're going to get a Doge check? Is that what you believe?
I don't care, but yeah, I think it's possible. I mean, I know how much money they've been collecting.
Well, anything's possible. It's possible. Right. So that means the money that you're paying?
Not yet. So far, the companies have been paying. They've been taxing the rich.
No, they haven't been.
Yeah, if the companies pay the tariffs and don't pass it on to the consumer, they're taxing the rich.
Right, but companies are passing it on to consumers, which is why we've seen prices go up in all kinds of areas. Food's up, coffee's up, all kinds of shit's up, right?
Well, it might. I think it will lead to higher prices before they get all the trade deals.
Right. So higher prices means that you're paying more. So if you get a Doge check, that would be your money that you're getting back.
Okay.
Right. So does that track with you? Are you fine with that?
Sure. I'd like to get my money back anytime I can.
Oh my God, bro. Where do you get your news from, friend?
I don't have television or anything. I just have TikTok. So TikTok.
Okay, so you only get your news from TikTok? Is that what you're saying?
I read Google, the headlines on Google News.
Okay, let's. I'm going to try to help you out here, brother. Okay, because you've
Why do you think I need?
You've been because you've been woefully misinformed. Woefully, and I can prove it to you. I can prove it to you. Okay, the reason. So if you and I disagree on something, right? If you say if you say that there's billions of dollars that have been earmarked for illegals, as they like to say, connected to the Medicaid cuts, right, and I say that's not true, how do we prove it? Because one of us is right and one of us is wrong.
You look at the spending and you see where it's going. You audit things. Right,
but that's not what you said. You said you went to the headline. Because I agree with you. Because the best way to determine what's real and what's not, for example, cuts to SNAP. The argument's been made, no, the states are just going to do that. The problem with that argument, friend, the reason that we know SNAP benefits are going to be cut in states is because in the big, beautiful fucking trash-ass bill, the allotment of funds now goes to the states, meaning the feds no longer do it. It's the first time this has ever happened. So states, red states by and large, who already can't pay their bills, how are they going to fund the SNAP programs in their state?
I think that's federal block grants that go to states. That's the money that goes out to SNAP.
That's what's been cut, though. From the feds, it was allocated. Now the states are asked to pick up the slack. And the states that are already upside down, who can't pay their budgets, how are they going to fund those programs?
What was SNAP funded? What was the SNAP funding I know it's part of the Farm Bill. So what was the SNAP funding that was passed through the big beautiful bill? Did it cut it, or did they keep it at exactly the same amount?
They cut it. And what the expectation was is that instead of two things. They cut it and they changed how it was to be appropriated. For example, when instead of having it come from the feds, so
I understand
our system, then that's a problem.
How?
Right? So how is that a problem?
It's illegal for them not to allocate the amount of money that the feds give them to the SNAP program.
Again, the feds are not giving money to the states now. The feds are asking the states to pick up the bill. That's the difference. Do you understand?
No, that's not true.
You don't understand that. It is true. That's why I'm saying if you read the bill, I've got the breakdown for you, man. I can tell you exactly how it works. Okay, I'm going to do my best here to work through this. Just give me a second. I got a lot of
subsidies also. The federal government's not giving the states money to pay the farmer the farmer subsidies, which are if the reference prices aren't high enough.
Well, okay, what happened with the farmers, right? The farmers, now the federal government has to bail out the farmers because of tariffs.
No, the Farm Bill is a support program for food safety in the United States.
I understand that, but there's two separate arguments here. There's two separate claims that you just made. One, that the SNAP cuts either didn't happen or that there's illegality happening. So the first answer to that first question is this. The feds, instead of funding SNAP federally, they push the burden off to the states. Okay? So do you understand how taxation works in our country?
Do you know how much money that is? Do you know how much the SNAP program is? It's $80 billion or something.
Nitwit, slow down. Let's talk about this, okay? Do you know how taxation works in our country?
Let's talk about federal funding of SNAP.
Nitwit. How does taxation work?
You have to pay your taxes.
Right. So we pay federal income tax, right?
Taxes.
Right. We pay federal income. We pay federal income tax, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So
property state. Yeah.
Every state. Yeah. Well, I'm talking federal specifically. Federal income tax. We all pay it. States that are what are referred to as donor states are by and large blue states, which means states like California, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, states like that pay more into the federal government than they get back. Red states, who, by the way, are some of the largest recipients of federal programs, it's the opposite. They pay less into the federal government than they get back. So federally funded programs in red states that already rely on donor states to pay their bills, federal money's being cut then to support their social programs. The burden then falls to the states who are already upside down on their budgets. So how are they going to feed people in their states?
I'm trying to follow that logic there. So you're saying that California no longer has to pay federal tax, so that money's not there to be. The money's not there to be distributed, even though California's a scam, and that statement you made is a scam also.
It's a scam? California pays $80 billion more annually than they receive? How is that a scam?
I don't believe it. Actually, I do believe it. I do believe it based on the fact that they have Google and they have all the big companies that produce all the money. But that's where the Democrats put them, so that they could make that claim.
What do you mean the Democrats put them? What do you mean the Democrats put them there? What do you mean that? What do you mean?
Those companies that support the Democrat Party or use it as a tool to.
You mean like MetaBook,
Google,
Facebook, right?
Yeah, Facebook,
so the same people.
Google.
Wait. The same people that were sitting behind Donald Trump at his inauguration.
Well, I think anybody knows that any company donates money to both sides just in case.
Yeah, but you just said
they don't know who's
the
going to win the election. I mean, you have to support whoever's in office.
But he was sitting there, and then Zuckerberg caught on a hot mic lying to benefit Donald Trump. So you think the money, the elites are only funding Democrats?
Well, I think Zuckerberg was working with the Biden administration to limit speech and keep the truth out of the media.
Oh, that's not true at all. Nitwit,
standing behind Trump at an inaugural.
Okay, I got to mute you, brother. Listen, we're going to go back to the topic. Okay, your name tracks. So you've been lied to. So what I'm trying to do here is try to help you navigate through this. You've been lied to. And I don't know why it's so complicated to just kind of look at the evidence that I've already shared with you. We already know you don't believe that California is the fourth largest economy in the world. Do you not agree with that? And I'll invite you to unmute your mic. Do you not agree that California is the fourth largest economy in the world?
I believe California is bankrupt. And I believe it's going to come out. That's why they want this $840.
Can you answer my question, please? Answer my question. Nitwit, answer my question. Do you not believe that California is either the fourth or the fifth largest economy in the world?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so then, with that being said, that is the GDP hub of the United States. Okay?
Well, which means if they were hey, Elon is moving X and SpaceX out of California, the headquarters. Going to Texas. So where is that money is leaving California? It's not going to be.
But other companies.
It's not going to be the largest economy for long.
But other companies are coming in all the time because California is a desirable place to live. More people left Florida.
Nobody wants to live in California.
Yeah, lots of people do.
Which is why it's the mega wealthy.
Not the mega wealthy. It's expensive to live there because of what you get. Where would you rather live?
Where would you? You don't even get fire departments.
Okay, Jesus Christ, bro. You know what? Your brain is broken. I don't know what to do.
Well,
I don't know what to tell you. But your brain is broken. Have a good day.
One of us is.
Good luck.
One of ours is.
No, it's yours, brother. It's yours. It's yours. Your brain is broken. Whoa! I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. It's just, that's just wild. That's crazy. Holy moly. Can't help that one is right. Good morning, Don. How are you today? Don, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Good morning. How are you?
I selected you by accident.
You didn't want to request?
No.
Okay. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. You got it.
Hello there.
Good morning. How are you?
Okay, how are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
So I'm not from the US, and I was listening to Nitwit, and Okay, I see that you follow me, so I'm assuming that you know who I am, Nikita.
I do.
Yes. My pronouns are they, them. And I'm a journalist. I'm a freelance journalist. And the stuff that has been coming out of independent sources has been a lot more reliable than the stuff that you can see on the mainstream news, obviously.
Absolutely.
And so I'm actually, unrelated. I'm thinking about doing a session on Discord on misinformation and disinformation. If you are interested, then you can let me know how to spot disinformation and misinformation. The nitwits' talking points are an example of rampant anti-intellectualism, but also the way in which the education system in the US does not allow for talk about politics, religion, and all of these systems that have been built to maintain America as it is. And I
Correct.
look at American politics and how it affects the global South. And it is ignorance, because a lot of people do not know that every decision that America makes affects the global South in myriad ways. Like these tariffs, they may be affecting the US citizen, but like 35% tariffs on South Africa is going to affect absolutely everything that we do, from the prices to our imports to our exports, and it's going to affect the person who is living under the poverty line the most. And so,
As always.
it's just so, it's infuriating. And the infuriating thing about people like Nitwit is that they just don't get it. They are so entrenched in privilege, in first world privilege. It is infuriating because they're so entrenched in whiteness and they're so entrenched in patriarchy and capital that they don't have the imagination to look at other forms of governance and other forms of how things can be run. It's a cult. It is absolutely a cult.
It is. I mean, just there's always cues that I catch too unscripted about how, or Nikita, like I asked him about the dose check. It's like, yeah, I just read that we're going to begin in October, while you were told you're going to get it in May, and then in April and May and June and July and August and September, and here we are again. And yeah, I think it's coming. So it's an example like that, which is harmful. I mean, part of me is like, the empath in me is like, man, these people just desperately need help, and the other part of me is like, fuck them. We can lead a horse to water, unless I jam our faces in it, they're never going to believe it anyway. Even then, even when presented with evidence. Interestingly enough, when I asked him the question, I said, how would we break the tie if you and I disagree about something? And he said, well, you'd look at the actual spending. I'm like, exactly. Let's look at the spending, and you can see where the cuts are, and you can see how language it gets manipulated and how they lie about everything in an attempt to convince people like Nitwit that they're correct. It's just dangerous. Propaganda, disinformation, misinformation, rhetoric, dangerous.
Yeah. And I mean, I do the readings on TikTok, on Twitch and Discord, all of those things, and hardly anybody comes because people don't want the actual facts. So yesterday I did a reading we do a chapter a day. On Tuesdays, I do the readings on race. Wednesdays, it's current affairs and theory. And Thursdays, it's gender. And we read a chapter each Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And it's because people don't want the actual information. It's the arguments on TikTok that they want. They want the drama, because it's entertaining. It's what's that guy, Jerry Springer? And
yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So we try, we move forward, we push on, and we see where we can go, because all we can do is try to educate. That's all we can do. You're right. Yeah. I appreciate you jumping in this morning, and thank you for being an independent journalist. I really appreciate it. There needs to be more of us. Thank you, Fred, for being here. I appreciate you. Yes. So and I've noticed that Nitwit continues to talk in the chat. The problem is, Nitwit, is that I tried to explain it to you. Federal programs, of which SNAP was one,
was something the federal government was doing. Now that they have shifted that burden to the states to supplement. And that's what you don't understand. States who already can't afford to pay their bills are now expected to pay more. So I can't help you navigate that. You're going to have to learn that lesson the hard way, but good luck. Good luck. Hi, Jack. Good morning. How are you today?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem. Didn't want to be here?
Yeah, I missed it.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Everybody, please keep tapping and sharing. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget, there is a gifting goal. If you want to support the channel, best way to do that is we are crowdfunded here. All the various things are at Factsstillmatter. And if you've not yet joined our Discord, or if you've not yet subscribed to YouTube, please do so. Richard, looks like you're timed out. Okay, I was trying to find the provision. Okay, let's see here. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. All right, so let's I want to shift gears a little bit now, and I want to thank I want to thank Crow for jumping in. But we should talk about the government shutdown. So the latest is, as we know, government shutdown at midnight, 12:01 technically, and we went through a pretty good list, a pretty exhaustive list that Crow provided for us as to what to expect. Hundreds of thousands of federal workers will be placed on furlough, temporarily laid off, although we'll get into the specifics about the letter from the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, where the threats were, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday, and I want people to think about this for a second. The Republicans are so desperate to make sure that brown, black, queer people, the disabled, everybody else don't get benefits, that they're going to allow people to permanently lose their job. The OMB threatened, either you do what we tell you in this budget and allow us to cut social programs and kick millions of Americans off of health care. Unless you do that, we are going to fire people. That's America first, right? Rah, rah. That's why we the people dissent. So that's the argument. They're attempting to try to say, and we went through this yesterday, the provisions that the Democrats have asked for was we need to continue the ACA subsidies, which guarantees semi-affordable insurance for people. If that subsidy goes away at the end of this year, then we went through the exercise yesterday about the massive increase that everybody will experience because people will leave the marketplace, and the people that will leave the marketplace are likely going to be the healthiest people, which means the burden then falls to the people who need to use the services more, which raises everybody's cost. And all that, and then to peel back a lot of the cuts that were made to Medicare, Medicaid, and programs like SNAP. That's what the Democrats had asked for. That's it. That's it. That's what they had asked for. And the Republicans said that's a bridge too far because Mike Johnson and others want to use the argument that all the Democrats want to give insurance to illegals. Friends, it's just not fucking true. It's just not true. It is just not true. And people like Nitwit, friend, we're not here to mock you, but you got to do better because you are woefully misinformed. And I did not get a chance to ask you where you lived, but likely states that are predominantly red, predominantly rural, are going to feel the impact the most because rural hospitals disproportionately are going to close. Some states are going to invest. Some states are better at grant writing. Some states are better at peeling back some of the money that's going to be cut, 50%. Like I can't, how do I explain this to you? Well, let's do this. I broke this down yesterday and just real quick, because I think it's necessary. Millions of people who currently qualify for subsidies, roughly 90% of ACA marketplace enrollees, would see their monthly premiums rise sharply. For many middle and lower income households, premiums could double or even triple. So again, that's what the Democrats asked for. Let's continue this subsidy, right? That's what we want to do to protect Americans' health care. That's it. So people like Nitwit and others have been convinced that it's just riddled with fraud. It's just not true. And I'll use this argument again. I don't mean to sound like a broken record. If there's 100 people standing in front of me, I want to guarantee that every single one of them has health care, even if one doesn't deserve it. Where people like Nitwit want to say the same 100 people in front of him, he'll say none of them should get health care in case one person's committing fraud. I like the analogy because it tracks with everything: food, shelter, health care, water, things like that. It's just an ideological difference between the left and the right. We accept the fact that there's going to be fraud. And the research was done about fraud in the Medicare, Medicaid space, less than 5%. And the bulk of that is on the clerical side, not on the recipient side, not people intentionally committing fraud. Some do, sure. Some absolutely do. But we're talking about fucking food and we're talking about healthcare. That's what the Democrats asked for. That's it. Want to negotiate this? That's it. So the Republicans can do it. They can say all they want. They can try to blame this on Democrats. And Democrats would be like, well, actually, the Republicans don't want people to have health insurance. That's why the government shut down. We were willing to negotiate with them, but it's got to start with guaranteeing that people still can retain their coverage. Loss of affordability for middle-income families. Families that just barely qualify today would be pushed out of the market. For example, a household earning $50,000, this is again under the ACA, might see annual premium costs rise from $3,000 after the subsidies, meaning that's what the Democrats want, to extend the subsidies, to $12,000 to $15,000 without them. Over 1/3 of their income would then have to go to healthcare. Many would drop coverage altogether, leading to an increase in the uninsured rate. The Congressional Budget Office has estimated in past repeal scenarios that eliminating the ACA subsidies could increase the number of uninsured Americans by over 10 million people, because Republicans want to give billionaires tax breaks. It is painful, but it's not, I don't even know what you're talking about. Healthier, lower income enrollees would be the most likely to leave the market if subsidies vanish. That would leave a sicker, more expensive risk pool behind, driving higher premiums for everyone. Everyone. Without subsidies stabilizing demand, insurers would face higher average costs per enrollee, which would translate into double-digit annual premium hikes in many states. Some insurers might pull out of markets altogether if enrollment collapses, reducing competition and further raising costs in many regions. Why the fuck are we doing it? It's like, dude, I feel so bad for you. I really do. Part of me does. Part of me is like, it's your own bed. You made it. Hey, Ash, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, just was going to add a little bit to what you were saying. I always love everything that you get at. You hit the points just right there. And I just, if you don't mind, I'm sure you'll get there. I worked in insurance for a long time. A couple things. First of all, like the government, Medicaid, like they paid their bills.
Yeah, so, exactly.
So when it came to like insurance and stuff paying, I battled more with like Blue Cross Blue Shield. I battled more with people not wanting the government pays their bills. They just do. They pay their bills. Second of all, do people not understand that like we pay for the uninsured anyway? No matter which route it goes, people will land in the ER. People will people who don't have insurance will get preemptive, some sort, like they'll have some sort of way to where the cost doesn't land with the providers. And if it can't land with the person, the taxpayers will pay for it. And even with private insurance, you're still paying for other people.
Correct.
It's insurance.
Correct.
It's insurance. It's just another form of like capital. It's socialism done wrong. It's socialism done through a capital lens when it comes to like private insurance, right? if you're okay with paying premiums and never using them, and then somebody else needs a $500,000, you know, that's essentially, you paid for that. You and everybody else in your little group paid for that.
Correct. And Ash, wouldn't you agree? Wouldn't you agree that one of the main driving costs of our healthcare is because we have so many people that are uninsured that we have to, all of us then have to pay the difference, right?
That and administrative costs and everything. Like,
correct.
I know I've used this silly analogy before, but it's like insurance is like wearing a belt and you have to poop real bad and you have to ask for permission to take your belt off. And sometimes they just tell you you can't take your belt off and then you have to poop your pants. And really you should, and you have a toilet in your house.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I don't know the exact number, but I know that a large amount of money does not go back into healthcare. It goes into the administrative costs to like cover the things where they're like sparsing it out. Like, get rid of that. But anyway,
Medicare
that's,
for all.
I mean, you know me, I'm in healthcare I was when I was working with insurance with maternal health, especially. So with pregnancy and all of that, I'm scared. But yeah, so anyway, don't wear belts, guys. That way you won't poop your pants. Okay, love you.
I appreciate you. Love you too, Ash. See you later. Bye. Who can explain how cuts change brains and how to deconstruct? Good call, Nina. Yeah. We've done that before, but it's a good call. I'm sorry, I'm talking to the chat. Yeah. So again, that's the Republicans' argument, and we talked about this a bit yesterday about how the polling is working against them because the overwhelming majority of Americans think that they hold Republicans and Donald Trump responsible. We went through that exercise, so they're upside down. So the argument that they're going to go back to one of their favorite, it's like, let's blame brown people. That's it. We'll find. Look, don't tell anybody. Okay, but. We know that undocumented immigrants, or actually, we can't say that. We have to say illegals. That's right. Everybody good? Yeah. Okay. We know that illegals aren't recipients. They don't get Medicaid. We know that certain states do it, but they don't get Medicaid. But we've got to be able to tell our mouth breathers like Nitwit that they do, which is justifying us cutting it. Right? Everybody good with that? Okay. So everybody got their lies on. All right. Put your hands in. Go lies. That's what it's like. Because they know themselves that undocumented immigrants are not recipients of Medicaid. States have programs, and by and large, the only thing that's available to them would be emergency room treatments and or for pregnant people and kids. That's it. That's it. So the lie is that Democrats are shutting down the government. No. Don't forget, they were sold a bill of goods to the American people. Put your trust in us. Give us the White House, give us Congress and the courts, and we will take care of you. When is that supposed to happen? When is that supposed to happen? I'd like to know. Like when should we expect that? Good morning, Richard. How are you today?
Hello. I'm doing well.
Excellent. What's on your mind?
Well, I think you do make some convincing points about the state of the country, so I voted for Trump.
Why?
I felt like he was taking us to the right direction.
You felt okay. You felt like that, so it was a feeling.
Well, no, I just speak like that. Yeah, part feeling, part facts. The past 4 years weren't great.
What are the facts? Well, okay, but let's talk about that. When you say the last 4 years weren't great, so first of all, who told you that the last 4 years weren't great?
Well, other voters did.
No, I'm asking you because you said. Well, hold on. You said that the last 4 years weren't great. So how, in your mind, were the last 4 years not great?
Well, we had an immigration crisis.
Did we? What was the crisis?
A large influx of immigrants. Well,
is that so? Again, how does that impact you?
Well, it impacted the people that I worked with.
Richard, I'm talking about you. Okay, let's talk about this because I asked you why you voted for Trump, and you said you felt like it was the best choice. So let's make this personal.
So
hold on, hang on, Richard, hang on a second. Hang on one second. When you answer questions, make it about you, not about other people. Okay. So again, first of all, you haven't explained what the immigration crisis was. What was the immigration crisis in your words?
Like a large influx of asylum seekers that the system,
which is the law, right? Which is the law. We have asylum laws. Would you agree?
yeah, I think people took advantage of it.
So how you think people took advantage of it? Did people take advantage of it?
Yes.
How?
Well, they know that we have limited courts, right? So if you just overwhelm the system, you get to stay for longer and you can maybe get amnesty.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because there was legislation that was proposed to address exactly what you talked about. Joe Biden did it within the first couple of days being elected. Republicans said no. There was a bill that was presented last year to address exactly what you're talking about. Donald Trump stepped in and said, don't vote on this. It was bipartisan. James Lankford, along with Democratic members of the House and the Senate, agreed. And Donald Trump stepped in and said, don't vote for it. So again, you still haven't expressed to me how that there was a crisis. I don't understand.
Well,
clearly there crisis, was one. What I think.
I don't think this is a very fair argument. Because you're saying that, because why would they need a bill if there's no crisis? Obviously there was one. That's why they needed to run the bill.
No, they didn't. No, they addressed what
there's
you
no crisis,
addressed.
then what's the motivation to start this bill?
Again, you addressed the problem with our immigration system is that we don't have enough judges. That we don't have the processing time is too long. I agree. Anybody who's being objective is saying that we have to address that. But you use the word crisis. So what's the crisis?
There was too many.
According to whom though? According to you?
According to the government. That's why they needed a bill to get more courts. Like, why would you need more courts if there was no more asylum seekers?
Okay, but that's not a crisis. That's a systems issue. I don't believe that there was an immigration crisis. And then what? Well, again, that's your opinion. So we're going to have to disagree on that. I guess the issue specifically though is what is so wrong with immigration?
I don't think there's anything wrong with immigration. I'm an immigrant.
Okay, then. Okay, well, I understand that. So why? So what's the issue?
I think sometimes too many can come at once, and that's not a good thing.
You think that, but there's no evidence of that, Richard. We've got the manufacturing sectors, the housing sector, customer service sector, hospitality sector depends on immigrants to fill a lot of those positions and a lot of those jobs.
So let's say tomorrow 100 million people came into the country all at once. Is that too many? Wouldn't that be too many?
Well, that's a ridiculous number, first of all.
Well, okay,
that's
so let's
crazy.
Right, so we just work it down, right? What about 90 or about 80? Like there is a number where we can work down where it's not ridiculous anymore, right? What about 50?
Well, tell me, but you still haven't identified a problem, though, Richard. You still haven't identified a problem because undocumented immigrants pay significant amount of taxes into the system. They pay more than they take. They're not eligible for federal benefits. They pay their taxes. They contribute to the community. So I guess the argument was if you supported Donald Trump's immigration plan, do you support people who just are working to be just rounded up, dragged away from their families and deported to a third country? Are you okay with that?
They came from those countries.
No, a lot of them are being deported to countries that they're not from. People are being sent to CECOP.
Cool.
Well, that's what's happening, though.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not a fan of everything Trump has done once he's been in office.
You said immigration, so I gave you the opportunity, and you said immigration.
I told you why I voted for him to begin with. I how he's doing it now is a separate topic.
Okay, but you don't. But people told you that was going to happen. Did you just not think it was going to happen?
Well, it was worse under Biden, so that's why I didn't like Biden.
But it wasn't. See, again, this is why I asked you the question. It wasn't. You were told that it was, but it wasn't. Because more people were deported. Hold on, wait a second. Hold on a second. More people were deported under Joe Biden than they were under Donald Trump. So how then was it a crisis under Biden, but not a crisis under Trump?
Because more came in.
More people were deported under Joe Biden than they were under Donald Trump. So if it was a crisis under Biden, how is it not a crisis under Trump?
Well, if more people come in,
try to think logically.
I am thinking logically. Again, you're telling me I can't think. You're telling me thinking is bad. Every time I say I think, you tell me thinking is bad.
No, you said because you say I feel a lot. This is not about feelings.
Okay? Well,
This is not about feelings.
Well, I know where I lived that people around me and my lives were impacted.
Okay, so how are their lives impacted?
All right, so I was doing a rotation at a clinic in a Spanish community. So this was a Pilsen in Chicago, and there was a lot of cases where we physically were way overwhelmed by the Chicago.
Okay, so you were over, and then the overwhelming came from everybody who was undocumented.
Well, we had a lot of migrants in the past couple of years that are there's so many, in front of police stations, we had migrant cabs. And
how do you know they're all migrants? How do you know they're all migrants? Did you interview everybody?
No, but that's what was happening.
How do you know?
Right? They were.
How do you know? But Richard,
well, prior to the migrant crisis, we didn't have so many of Spanish descent.
You're the one, but Richard, you're the one that is saying it's a migrant crisis, and you've not yet been able to identify what that crisis is. So let me back up a second. I'm not going to pivot away from this. We're going to stay on topic. Now that you've seen the heavy-handed approach that Donald Trump is literally just pulling people off the streets, masked ICE agents, kicking people out of the country with no criminal record whatsoever, none at all. You yourself said you were an immigrant, so you yourself could be then subjected to that same kind of abuse. If knowing what you know, and the election was tomorrow, would you still vote for Donald Trump?
Yeah, I think it would have been worse with Kamala Harris.
Of course you would. Get the fuck out of here. Let's just pull the ladder right up behind us. Let's just grab the ladder. Let's just pull it right up. Wow, it's not even 9 o'clock yet. Good morning, Scotty. How are you today?
I'm all right, mate. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Oh, it's all right. It's just the briefest message of support, really, because I listen to a lot of lives, and you actually engage in civil discourse, and you're respectful in that. Whereas I see a lot of gotcha lives, and you are genuinely trying to educate people, even if you disagree. I never see you be mean to people. You're just trying to open eyes and open doors and hope that they walk through. And I appreciate that. And that's all right.
Thank you, man.
It's weird because in Britain, where I am, as you can probably tell, we don't get a lot of US news. I didn't even know this government shutdown was going on until yesterday. And of course, we don't see nothing of it. So, thank you for the info. It's a weird one. Sometimes people say, who would have I voted for? Truthfully, I don't think I would have voted for either of the last two, because I don't think they're very good leaders. But that's a different question altogether. I don't like either of them, to tell you the truth. I don't think the man in charge is doing a great job at the minute. And the media is responsible for a lot of propaganda where people don't trust each other no more. So your civil discourse is important, and that's all I wanted to say.
I appreciate that, Scotty. Thank you very, very much. And I know there's a lot of energy. Well, the Reform Party is an interesting kettle of fish, as they say. So I know that Nigel Farage is trying to, get a seat at the table again, similar to what we see here, a lot of, alt-right bullshit and a whole bunch of authoritarian tendencies. Are you seeing that as well?
A bit, yeah. It's weird because, again, where we've got the BBC, they're meant to be impartial, yeah? So they've got a charter. They're not meant to be left or right. And what I find is, as myself, when I did the political compass test, I was slightly left of Nelson Mandela. Now, it was a few years ago when I did that, right? And I find that where I am now, I feel like a traditional centrist, and I find that the people are separating more and more and more. I feel politically homeless. So it's a bit weird. I'm always willing to give people a chance, but they need to have solid plans. And that's the thing. Politicians are meant to plan for all of our futures and children's futures. And I don't think at the minute there's too many good choices out there. It's certainly not in our country. Labour are currently messing things up. They blame the previous 14 years of Conservative, basically, governance. And now Nigel Farage and Reform are saying, well, we'll do a better job. So, that's it, really. It's, we're in potentially murky waters, I think. So, yeah, all I can encourage is listen to arguments, you know, and have civil debates, and, you know, be nice to each other and don't war with each other. And I hope that that's all I can hope for, isn't it?
I appreciate that, Scotty. Maybe consider joining our Discord. If you haven't yet, you can find the link. It's in the link tree in my bio. Thanks for being here, friend. Listen, I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me on. I've got to go to work and do some shopping for my old dear in a minute. She's 81 and I do her shopping for her. So I've got to do some work with Pink Eye as well. Someone must have guffed on my pillow.
I appreciate you jumping in today. Thanps for being here, Scotty.
Take it easy, man. Bye-bye.
You too. Love to hear that. Okay, let me see if I've got... I'm going to play a little sound for you, just real quick, because I want to just play This Is Wild. This was Stephen Colbert. I'm going to bring up this particular picture. I love the way that Colbert talks about it, because he's going to reference this first. This was the moment, in case you didn't see this, when our Secretary of War tried to do a kickflip and then nailed himself in the fucking nuts. So I'm going to let Colbert kind of talk about that a little bit and then get into this. His monologue last night was great. So here you go.
Hegseth emphasized that our leaders needed a hyper-serious, no-nonsense approach to war fighting. Take a look.
It's a good thing. Homage Skateboard Academy, John Collins, thank you.
I'm sorry, was that the wrong tape? Was that the wrong tape? My fault. I'm sorry, we had the wrong tape. That's actually Hegseth slamming his nards with a skateboard when he hosted a weekend morning show this year. Still more dignified than what he did today, because in the actual speech, Hegseth went 5-star douche and at one point pegged the camera with what he was sure was going to be an applause line.
Should our enemies choose foolishly to challenge us, they will be crushed by the violence, precision, and ferocity of the War Department. In other words, to our enemies, F-A-F-O.
Oh no. I know that feeling. I've been there. I can commit. When you think it's going to land, that quiet crowd really hurts. I mean, it happens to a lot of people. It reminds me when Queen played Wembley. Hegseth went all in on what he calls his warrior ethos.
Today is another Liberation Day. The liberation of America's warriors, in name, in deed, and in authorities. You kill people and break things for a living.
I'll say it. The Democrats have got to turn down the temperature on their violent rhetoric. Now, I know. Hey-oh. Yeah. You guys are great. Thank you. Once the
So, yeah. Anyway, this, by the way, was, so somebody had asked about this picture. This was the video of Keg's Breath, I think, doing a snap appearance on Fox, and he attempted to do a kickflip, and he literally got himself in the nads, the tiny little shriveled up nads. But yeah. All right. So then I want to get into around what happened yesterday with that. Okay. Try to get some more guests in, and then we'll get back to our regular scheduled programming. Good morning, Rebel. How are you today? Rebel, are you there? Rebel Heart, Daniel. I guess not. Okay. Someone give him a drink and let him be off. Yeah, I agree. Okay. We have Jacob. Morning, Jacob. How are you today?
5-6 or something like that?
Something stupid playing Death Touch Lifelink.
Yeah, I'm like,
Jacob.
How is this
Jacob
happening?
And then you blink it as well.
Okay. Sometimes I want to listen in. Yeah, I'm a watcher for sure, but sometimes I could be a listener as well. But I'm just saying. Good morning, friend. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to bring up the thing about the ACA being cut. It won't only impact the people that are on the ACA or have insurance through that. It's also going to impact the people that have insurance through regular companies because they have to keep their costs low in order to compete. So now every person in America that has insurance is going to be impacted. I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention that it's not just the ACA program.
That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah, I tried to explain that. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job, but the ACA subsidies being cut means everybody's cost goes up. Everybody's. Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me up. I just wanted to let everyone know that it would be everyone that would be impacted.
You got it. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing, friends. Appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
You too. Thank you.
By the way, the shirt, I saw somebody comment on it, PBS, NPR, FDT, available in the merch store. You can find the link, Facts HQ, it's either at Factsstillmatter on factsstillmatter.site, or you can go to the link that's in the link tree that's in my bio. And I got one more request here, and then we'll get back to our programming. We all pay too much for healthcare.
One day,
how are you today, friend?
She didn't want to go to work.
Morning.
She was I don't feel good, and we stayed home.
I can't listen in. It's just like I can't do it. Okay. I want to talk. First of all, I want to talk about Portland a little bit because Portland. I used to live in the West Coast. I lived in Seattle, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington. Two of the most beautiful cities we have in our country. They're beautiful. Much like many of the lies that have been told to attempt to justify sending the National Guard and ultimately the U.S. military in to run practice missions. Yeah, you heard that right. They highlight the violence and the crime and the war-torn cities, right? So the president made this statement like this. This is how this whole thing started. This is prior to him going over to that jerk fest that happened yesterday. Here you go.
You know, we brought the numbers down in Chicago a little bit by having the FBI in there for the last 5 months. We brought the numbers down in Memphis a little bit, but now we're going for the big one. Now we're going to go for the big one. But we set ourselves up very well in Chicago, Memphis, New Orleans a little bit, going in early just to see what was happening. You know, we study it. We're studying the site. It's sort of like war. I mean, I hate to tell you, it's like war. Some of these people are really bad. They're really, really sick people. They're dangerous people. They're killers. They're murderers, drug dealers, and can have it. You can't have other. You know.
Okay, so that's how it started, right? So the chief of police for Portland was interviewed. Now, here's the contradiction that MAGA now finds himself in. The group of people, first of all, who claim to back the blue, which we know is fucking bullshit because they supported violent insurrectionist traitorous mob assaulting over 140 police officers on January 6th. They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that at all. So the group of people that are backing the blue, the chief of police from Oregon, from Portland, okay, is telling you that, well, I'll let his words speak for themselves. Again, this is the chief of police for Portland. His name is Bob Day.
A myth or a misconception since this news broke that you're like, oh, I just wish people understood this?
Yeah, I mean, the fact of the matter is, and it's been highlighted so many times so well, but I just want to emphasize, this is one city block.
One block.
The city of Portland is about 145 square miles.
Correct.
This is one city block.
One block.
And even the events that are happening down there do not rise to the level of attention that they are receiving. We are seeing this true for our society in whole. I'm not going to try and editorialize too much, but these, 30-second, 20-second, 15-second clips that are brought in from months ago or maybe even years ago. We've seen Portland portrayed through the events of the lens of 20 and 21. And what's actually happening in the response that we're seeing both from Portlanders and from the Portland Police Bureau is not in line with that national narrative. And it is frustrating, but we're going to continue to stay the course. I said this on Saturday. The actions of the federal government and others doesn't change the resolve that the Portland Police Bureau has to continue to provide the highest level of safety and security and service to Portlanders.
Is there
So how do we square this, right? MAGA, how do you square it? So you're being told by your president and, Pete, the Secretary of War. Anyway, if you know, you know. That it's a violent war zone. That it's overrun by the criminal element. And you're believing that? Or do you want to believe the chief of police is on the ground there? What do you want to believe? Excuse me. Do you want to support law enforcement like you say you claim? Do you want to say you back the blue like you claim? Because the chief of police is like, look, this is like one fucking square block that this stuff happens, like in a lot of cities. So what is your answer? Because I've already seen, and this is the part that really bothers me. To be honest, this whole thing with using the National Guard and potentially the United States military is something that most traditional conservatives would be so fucking angry about. They'd be the first ones standing in line. The libertarian section in particular, right? But now, because of what? Because they've been told a lie. Because their racism is showing. I'm going to read you one of the quotes that he made, and thank you to Legend for pointing this out because I had this one pulled as well. But this is the entire game here. And by the way, the police. This is a quote from that speech that he gave yesterday from the president. And by the way, the police officers, also fire department. I always put the fire department in because they're great. They're great, and I got 95% of their vote. When you get 95% of their vote, you always have to mention them. But they're great, and they're brave in our inner cities. There's the first dog whistle. We're going to be talking about it because it's a big part of war now. It's a big part of war. But the firemen go up on the ladders, and you have people shooting at them while they're up on the ladders. They're up in one of these ladders that goes way up to the sky, rescuing people. And you have animals shooting them, shooting bullets at firemen that are way up in death's territory. Inner cities, animals. But he's not racist, right? He might as well have just put the fucking hood on when he's going to talk about that. You also have to mention them, but they're great, the firemen. And they're brave. They're brave in our inner cities. What do you think that means? And here's the problem, the obvious problem, is that the people that he's speaking to love that fucking shit. Yep, let's go get the black people. Let's go get them. Let's round up the black people. Or they like to say, the blacks. Let's go round up the illegals, the murderers, the grapists. And they equate it to a community, and they use dog whistles like inner city. And then they use dog whistles like animals. And you want to sit up here and say that he's not fucking racist? Yeah, that's exactly right. The same people cheering this shit on are the same people that don't think that Charlie Kirk was a fucking racist. The same group of people. The same, again, you don't consider yourself, you don't consider the things that Charlie Kirk has said, or that Donald Trump has said, or that Pete Hegseth has said, or others have said. You don't think that they're racist because you're racist. Do I still have this sound pulled up? I think I do. Hang on a second. I think it's appropriate.
President.
Not that one. We'll listen to Pete in just a moment. I'm going to play this for you. I wasn't going to, but I think it's necessary to play this right now. So this is Charlie Kirk. You can tell me, you can sit there objectively, MAGA, and tell me that this isn't racist.
You do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken
somewhat seriously. Play cut 52.
But I rise today as a clear recipient of affirmative action, particularly in higher education. I may have been admitted on affirmative action, both in terms of being a woman and a woman of color, but I can declare that I did not graduate on affirmative action. This is my personal story.
I hear because of action affirmative. She can't even say that.
Laughing.
We know. It's very obvious to us that you were not smart enough to be able to get in on your own.
Yeah, that guy that you are now canonizing, that guy that many people in the MAGA community want his face on fucking Mount Rushmore. That guy, that trash fucking human being. And again, two things can be true. I do not believe someone should be assassinated for their speech. But he's a trash human being. And for those people that are still swimming in these fucking circles that think that that guy isn't a fucking racist, is probably because you're racist too. Or that Donald Trump isn't a fucking racist because you're likely racist too. You don't talk about, you've never walked onto a plane and said, gee, I wonder if that white pilot is qualified. You don't wonder whether or not what was it, one about a black lesbian? He made some comment about black lesbian doctor. I even forget the quote because they're all so fucking bad. And now we're saying inner cities and animals. How else are people supposed to interpret that? I know. I guarantee you Sharon knows. Crazy. Good morning, my friend. How are you today?
Good morning, my friend. I don't know how you do this every day, but kudos to you, friend. You rock it out every day and get viewership up there and spread really, really good information. Back to Portland. Have you ever heard of Andy No?
No.
Okay.
No.
So Andy No, his last name is spelled NGO for anybody who wants to go look him up. Andy No is a fraudulent, quote unquote, I use this term very loosely, journalist who lives in Portland, who hangs out with the Proud Boys. And back in around the protests of BLM in 2020, this was the guy that went out and would take Proud Boys with him. They would go to LGBTQIA bars or spaces where they deemed liberals hung out, and they would antagonize them. And as soon as the liberals would fight back, Andy would pull out his camera. Look how violent these leftists are. And he is he goes around and he claims to be some sort of authority on Antifa. He goes to Fox News and Newsmax, and he's sensational. He got fired from his journalistic job at some newspaper for doctoring video. And he's just a general piece of shit who makes up stuff to get notoriety. And so Trump is listening to him. He is the reason why Trump is targeting Portland. Do you remember back then when Antifa was throwing cement milkshakes at people? Do you happen to remember that?
I do remember that. Yes,
That's
and I
Andy
think there's more. And I think there's more to the Oregon story than what you're just talking about. But please finish what you wanted to say.
Yeah, no, that's him. That's the one that claimed cement milkshakes were being thrown at him, and there was no evidence of that. And when they say that, all this stuff is happening in Portland, people need to prove who is doing that. You can't just assume that it's someone you disagree with or it's somebody on the left that's doing this violence. The Boogaloo Boys went out during protests and wreaked havoc, and people still believe that it's the left. So I just wanted the 1,700 people in here, if you want to know why people are targeting Portland and Trump's targeting Portland, it's because of Andy No. If you go and look up Andy No, you'll see that there's two publications, or there's two sources on the internet. One of them is called Deep News, which sounds really reputable, and then another one is called the Post Millennial, and they're the two quote unquote news sources that perpetuate. He'll write stories and then send them to these bullshit sources, and it makes it look like they're reputable because they'll just keep spewing them over and over and over and over, and so it makes it, and then it ends up getting picked up by other news sources that are sourcing those two shitty news sources. And so it's just a bunch of spun around bullshit. And I just wanted everybody to be aware of who Andy No was. And that was really all I had to say, love.
I appreciate you, Sharon. Thank you for being here. It's good to see you again.
Thank you so much. Have a great day now.
Be safe out there. Yeah, that's interesting. Andy NGO, we'll look that up. Also, on Oregon specifically, because Ron Wyden, who's a senior senator from the state of Oregon, has really started tapping into the financial connections to Jeffrey Epstein and numerous other billionaires and the entire network. He's the senator from Oregon. He's going deep with his investigation, because the deeper the better, right? We certainly know that. He's going really deep in his investigation. So I don't think it's a coincidence that Oregon is on the radar. So I'm just saying, but there's a lot connected to it. So I want to go back to, well, let me finish this up. I think I've got a couple more requests, and let me just bang out this real quick. There's so many layers to this whole thing. It's just wild. Chronicles, how are you this morning?
Hey, so being from Portland, I just first want to say that Antifa...
Love your city. Love your city. Love it.
Thank you. Antifa definitely was never throwing anything at anybody, because Antifa is an ideology and not a group of people.
Correct.
First of all.
Yes. Yeah, but by the way, the Antifa meeting tonight has been moved to Vegas. So I just want everybody to know, in case you haven't got your invitation, it's in Vegas tonight.
Hey, I live in a shuttle bus, so I can easily travel. It's fine.
Okay.
But I travel back and forth between here and Arizona, depending on the weather. But I'm just outside of Portland right now. I had some medical stuff I had to deal with this summer, so I keep getting messages from my friends that live elsewhere. I'm so worried about you. Are you okay? And I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys. So what I did yesterday, I had a doctor's appointment in Northeast Portland and a doctor's appointment in Northwest Portland. And so I turned on another app that you're allowed to go live on when you're driving. And I took everybody through all of Portland. I showed them the good parts. I showed them the bad parts. We drove by ICE detention facility. And the overwhelming was I thought there would be more tents. Where are the fires? And I'm like, this is exactly what I'm saying. Now, daytime representation of the ICE facility might be a little different than the nighttime activity that goes on, but not by much. Okay, there's still not fires. There's still no wars going on. People are just trying to protect people. And I saw a couple people in the chat bring up riots and things like that. Now, more times than not, whether it be from 2020 or now, and this isn't just Portland, I've heard this in all of the cities that get targeted, is when there is riots, it is not coming from the peaceful protesters. I have literally sat and watched, or stood and watched because I was there in person, peaceful protests happening, and the police get on the LRAD system in their vehicles and say that if the people do not disperse, then it will be claimed, defined as a riot. And then, of course, people don't disperse because they're peacefully protesting and not doing anything wrong. And then the tear gas starts.
Correct.
And it's just so frustrating how the rest of the world sees Portland. So I felt like that's one thing that I could do, was take people live and drive literally from one end of Portland to the other. See the good, see the bad, and the bad's not that bad.
That's an example of doing something, by the way. I appreciate that. For anybody, like I said, if anybody's ever been in the Pacific Northwest, it's one of the most beautiful parts of not only our country, but the world. And again, the chief of police saying, listen, this is one block, okay, where we've had this activity.
Exactly.
Portland's 145 square miles. It's like one block. So that's, yep.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, friend. I appreciate you being here. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
You too.
I think that's a really good, that's a good suggestion. If you are in a position and your city is one of the cities that is under constant lies and bullshit and rhetoric from the War Department, right, and from the president's office, etc., grab your camera. Walk around your city. Grab your phone. Get on your bike or whatever, and just drive around your city and just show people the truth. Just show people what's really, really happening there. I mean, it will get spun and someone will attempt to turn it into something. And, we already know that Fox and Newsmax and others have just used fake pictures. They've doctored images. Instead of listening, I'll go back to the sound we played from law enforcement earlier from the chief of police. I'll go back to that statement. He said, listen, this is one block. Okay? This is one block. Kipper's bigly mad. Kipper's always mad about something. Sorry, I'm just going to ignore it. It's one block in a city of whatever the population is. It's a beautiful city. It's an absolutely beautiful city, much like many cities in America. But again, it's the dog whistles. It's the dog whistles. It's inner cities. It's animals. And again, people who don't think that's racist are likely racist themselves. So there you go. Okay. By the way, yesterday was my daughter's 18th birthday, and I managed to actually surprise her, which is really difficult because I coordinated some friends to show up. I basically told her little white lies over the course of the day. She got really frustrated because we thought we were going to be late. She was like mad at me. It's my birthday. How come we aren't doing them? I'm like, chill the fuck out a little bit. I'm working on it. I had to stop to get gas when I didn't need to get gas. Then I had to drive really slowly, which she just annoyed the hell out of her. Anyways, it was very successful and she had a great night and tears were shed, but not by me. Of course not. Okay. Kipper, buddy, goodness. Good morning. Why not? How are you today?
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
Doing fine. What's on your mind?
Hey, man, I listened to your show. You're doing a great job. It's just, I can't believe there's so many dumb motherfuckers that are procreating in this cult. But the one point I want to bring up, you touched upon the racism.
Oh, yeah.
The thing is, he gave you the racism right in front of him. Tim Scott and Brian Donaldson got hung out to dry. They licked and sucked the boot, ate the boot, and they get no cabinet position.
Of course.
But they say that he's not racist.
I mean, well, or he will tokenize. Yeah. Again, people like I've said before, if there's 9 Nazis sitting at a table and you sit down, and there's 10 Nazis sitting at a table. So that's how it works.
But yeah, that's what I want to bring up. But enjoy the program, man. Have a good day.
Thanks. You too. Appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there. Yeah, I mean, it's just obvious. We don't need to convince anybody. I mean, they're not going to believe it anyway. When people aren't going to think something is racist because they're likely racist. Or people are not going to think it's misogynistic because they believe that women should be barefoot and pregnant. They don't think there's anything wrong with that. Christian nationalists don't give a fuck. They think that the threat of the trans community is justification for passing legislation to deny everybody their rights. I mean, it's just a fucking joke. And that's why we dissent. That's why we, the people, dissent. That's our goal, right? To remind people that there's more of us than there are of them ideologically. And then that whole display yesterday with the generals is just crazy. So we're going to track a couple of stories simultaneously. Obviously, the government has shut down. We know that. I don't expect a lot to happen over the next couple of days. We still have to swear in Representative Grijalva from Arizona. At some point, it seems like she'll get sworn in next week. And when she does get sworn in, that will be the 218th vote, unless there's pressure from the White House. And again, think about all this. Think about this entire thing. Protecting fucking predators. All right? So on that point, I want to play this sound that Ted Cruz shared, because this is wild. I don't know if you guys heard this, but this is absolutely insane that he said this. See if I have it here. Hang on a second. You probably have heard it, but if not, I got to play it for you because you're going to be like, what? Hang on a second. This is nuts. Okay. I want you to listen to this. This is Ted Cruz. I don't know what he's attempting to do here or why, but this is wild.
together and say, let's stop murders? How about we all come together and say, let's stop rape? How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles? It's an agreement. How about we all come together and say, let's stop murders? How about we all come together and say, let's stop rape? How about we all come together and say, let's stop attacking pedophiles? It's an agreement. How about we all come together and say, let's stop murders?
That's AI. Is it AI? Is it AI? I don't know. I mean, I've seen other people reporting on this. If that's the case, then I apologize. But it's on the C-SPAN Chiron, so I don't know. You think he made a mistake? It's quite a mistake to make. People that are protecting, we should stop attacking PDF files. Okay, hang on a second. Dude, stop barking, please. Come on. All right. Sorry. I think it's real. You guys know me when it comes to trying to make sure that we're navigating through misinformation. So if it's not, then I apologize. I think it happened live though. All right. Let me do this. I want to the biggest takeaway that I got from this whole thing, from this speech yesterday, I'm going to play some of the various sound bites from the speech, both Hegseth's version and our president's version, is the expectation that he has that people will revere him. And I'm thinking, I've heard him say something before that kind of stood out to me. And this was right after he met with Kim Jong-un in his first administration. When he went, first of all, when he went and gave legitimized a North Korean dictator. Like, he thinks it was a big deal, that it was a positive thing for the American president to step foot on North Korean soil and then salute a North Korean general. That's fucked up. Then coming back and saying, I was able to stop their missile testing program. Then 3 days later, Kim Jong-un's like, Rocket Man's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then they're lobbing missiles back into the Sea of Japan. Okay, so enough of that bullshit. But this is what he said, and I remembered this. I'm like, oh, I gotta fucking find that clip. What do I look for? Well, I found it.
Hey, he's the head of a country, and I mean, he is the strong head. Don't let anyone think anything different. Right. He speaks, and his people sit up at attention. I want my people to do the same.
I want my people to do the same. When he speaks, his people stand up and sit at attention. I want my people to do the same. That's what he wanted yesterday to be. That's what he wanted. That's what he wants. That's why he demands loyalty. That's why there are sycophants in his cabinet. That's why they are replacing people who just say mean words against him. That's why he's going after journalists. That's why he's going after democratic institutions, small d democratic institutions. That's why he's going after judges. That's why he's going after the court system. That's why he's going after journalists. He expects them. Oh, the shirt again. The shirt's available in the merch in our merch store, Facts HQ, at factsstillmatter.site or Facts HQ in the link tree, the link jungle. PBS, NPR, FTT. That's what he expects. He demands loyalty. He doesn't deserve it. He hasn't earned it, but that's what he expects. Okay? So this is a compilation of some of the statements that he made yesterday. So I'll play this for you because this is wild. Here you go. These are I guess you would consider these some of the lowlights. Here you go.
I've never walked into a room so silent before. This is very. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. You're not allowed to do that. You know what? Just have a good time. And if you want to applaud, you applaud. And if you want to do anything you want, you can do anything you want. And if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. Of course, there goes your rank. There goes your future. But you just feel nice and loose, okay? Because we're all on the same team. I was told that, sir. You won't hear a murmur in the room. I said, we got to loosen these guys up a little bit.
A lot of the undertones were very homoerotic. I don't know if you guys know that. I'm not judging, but it seems like, a lot of that's going on. But, hey, let your freak flag fly. I don't judge.
I'm very careful, when I walk downstairs, like I'm on stairs, like these stairs, I walk very slowly. Nobody has to set a record. just try not to fall, because it doesn't work out well.
What?
You walk nice and easy. You don't have to set any record. Be cool. We're the hottest country in the world right now. The absolute hottest country in the world. There's nobody even close. Putin said that to me. But I announced.
We're the hottest country in the world. Putin said that to me. Okay.
Said, based on his mention of nuclear, and it was really a stupid person that works for him mentioned the word nuclear. I moved a submarine or two, I won't say about the two, over to the coast of Russia, just to be careful, because we can't let people throw around that word. I call it the N-word. There are two N-words, and you can't use either of them. Actually, I love my signature. I really do. Everyone loves my signature. We should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military, National Guard, but military. Because we're going into Chicago very soon. That's a big city with an incompetent governor, stupid governor, stupid. Only in recent decades did politicians somehow come to believe that our job is to police the far reaches of Kenya and Somalia, while America is under invasion from within. We're under invasion from within. No different than a foreign enemy, but more difficult in many ways because they don't wear uniforms.
Wow.
In Venezuela, you've seen the boats going. We can't find any more boats. They're carrying drugs. Massive. Every boat kills about 25,000 people. That's what they have. They have fentanyl mostly and a lot of other drugs. And we take them out, and we've taken out 4. So General Kane says, sir, there are no boats out there. Not even fishing boats. They don't want to go fishing. I don't blame them. There'll be no fishing today. But it's amazing what strength will do.
Looking for the words. Yes, it is. It's dangerous. There's no doubt about that, because you're literally talking about using American cities as training grounds. We don't fight wars the way that Pete Hegseth wants to fight wars. We don't fight wars the way that Donald Trump wants to fight wars. We just don't. We just don't do that. We have drones. We have air superiority. We don't fight wars that way. So I guess to keep the rank and file in shape so that Pete Hegseth has chiseled male bodies to look at, just saying, they want to use American cities as test grounds. For what? For what? What are we using the American cities for? And the part about it's easy to tell the enemy combatants because they're in uniform, but the enemy from within aren't in uniforms, so they're easier. They're not as easy to identify. Here's the daily reminder: President Trump, Vice President Vance, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Steve, Facts. I'm live every Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. till noon. Fuck you, you fucking fascists. Have a day. So, that's our president. That's our president. Expecting the American military. And so I did a little bit of, I was curious about this because I'm sure that there are some statements that have been made by the president yesterday, and these are some of the things that he said, and I'll play some more. I've got some sound too, but senior uniformed military leaders remained largely silent during the event and departed quietly afterwards, showing restraint in public reaction, as reported by Reuters. Some reports noted that the speech made them visibly uncomfortable. You think? That few in the audience publicly applauded. In internal reporting, some described the gathering as tense, with many generals, quote, trying to keep a straight face in response to sweeping policy changes announced by War Secretary Pete Hegseth. again, as reported in The Atlantic. Hegseth doubled down on many of the themes in Trump's remarks. He criticized, quote, fat generals, pledged to overhaul physical fitness and discipline standards, and targeted diversity, equity, and inclusion programs for elimination. He urged officers who disagree with his agenda to resign. He announced planned reforms to Pentagon oversight and whistleblower systems, proposing limits on anonymous complaints and empowering commanders with broader internal authority. So women who've chosen to serve, members of the trans community who've chosen to serve, good luck when you're assaulted, because nobody's going to believe you. And you're going to be told to basically just whatever, just get out of my face. Okay, it's good. That's good to know. Some retired senior officials expressed strong concern about the politicization of the military and the risk of undermining the apolitical ethos of the armed forces, also reported by Reuters. Critics highlighted the potentially unconstitutional implications of deploying the military domestically, particularly, quote, in Democrat-led cities, calling such deployment proposals dangerous and authoritarian. Some observers warned that rolling back whistleblower protections could obstruct accountability and erode trust in military institutions. You think? Trans not needed in combat. So are you a bigot too, Elmer? Okay. This is a direct quote from the Secretary of War. Frankly, it's tiring to look out at combat formations or really any formation and see fat troops. It's also unacceptable seeing fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon, leading commands around the country and the world. On gender-neutral standards and possible exclusion, quote, standards must be uniform, gender-neutral, and high. If that meant some women didn't qualify, it is what it is. On ending politically correct leadership, quote, the era of politically correct, overly sensitive, don't hurt anyone's feelings leadership ends right now at every level. Okay? On reforming the Inspector General complaints system, the Inspector General are the ones who respond to whistleblower complaints. That's part of what the responsibilities of Inspector Generals in every agency. And don't forget, I think it was 12 or 13 Inspector Generals upon retaking the White House back in January after Inauguration Day, immediately cut some of these Inspector Generals, whose job it is to respond to the agencies of which they have oversight, whistleblower complaints. Interesting. He said the IG, the Inspector General, had been, quote, weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat. Who's the arbiter for a complainer? I'm sorry, if somebody's assaulted, are they a complainer? Apparently. On resignations, he told commanders that they should resign if they don't support his agenda. That's interesting. They're supposed to be apolitical, but you're asking them to support an agenda. Okay, reset my goal. Sure, I will. Thank you. Thanks for the reminder. I always forget to do that. Let me do the donut. Ooh, donuts. 1,700 people in here, guys. If we could get the likes up and, let's bang this goal out, that'd be fantastic. I appreciate y'all very much. We are crowdfunded here. Appreciate you. Donald Trump on domestic training grounds. Quote, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military. On mission versus feelings. The purposes of America military is not to protect anyone's feelings. It's to protect the republic. On political correctness, we will not be politically correct when it comes to defending American freedom. That's pretty wild. Nothing to see here, though. Nothing to see. Nothing at all. Nothing to see here. Fascist, authoritarian takeover of our military, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Brooke, I might drop you down and maybe request again. You can come right back up and can try that again. Let me invite you. See if that works this time. I know, right? They constantly contradict themselves. All right. Well, I'm gonna do this real quick. Let me. Didn't get our daily, but I'm gonna just play this real quick. I'll be right back.
TikTok, It is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information to the absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or to platform those that do. Opinions of our guests or commenters are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect those of the host. Hate speech is not allowed, and we are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only. We now return you to our regularly scheduled pandemonium, already in progress.
Okay. Can you? I mean, just imagine being a decorated officer that it's been there. You know, general, admiral. You know, the people who are truly, who epitomize what it takes to serve with distinction and honor, right? So, how the fuck then does Trump or Hegseth expect to have any kind of support from that entire community? And the answer is he can't. Because they think he's a joke. They think he's an absolute clown car. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Good. Oh, very good. How are you?
I'm great.
Just remember, any day the Yankees lose, America wins.
Agreed.
Did you happen to see what the Pope said yesterday?
I did not.
Okay, now I have many issues with the Catholic Church, but in certain things they are dead on. This is what he said. The Pope said someone who says, I'm against AB, but it is in favor of the unaliving penalty is not really pro-life. Someone who says, I'm against AB, but I'm in agreement with the inhuman treatment of immigrants in the United States, I don't know if that's pro-life.
Interesting.
So that came out from Pope Leo, or Bob from Chicago, as I like to call him.
Yeah, Bob from Chicago. Yeah,
Bob
that's exactly
from Chicago.
Right. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah. You know, I agree. I agree. I mean, I think the contradictions are very interesting, and he seems to be a pretty progressive guy for being the Pope of the Catholic Church, but that's how it goes.
Well, he was, he was appointed cardinal by a very progressive guy, so.
It's true.
That's
true as well.
And that's what people don't understand. What tends to happen with popes is whoever was the Pope previous, they get most of the cardinals, so then when a new Pope comes in, it's a lot of the times the same way the last Pope was.
Yeah, that's true. They'll make recommendation. That's a good point. Anything else, buddy?
What a waste of bringing all those people, all those military people don't be fat, make sure you shave.
Yeah, estimates are like $10 million, something like that cost.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, also, the Ted Cruz was not AI. That's on C-SPAN.
Yeah, I thought so. Like, I mean, I looked, I could not find any contradictions. So yeah, it might have been a misspeak, but you got to be careful. Got to be watching your words, right?
Oh, absolutely. But Yankees suck. Go Sox.
Agreed, buddy. Thanks a lot for being here. Talk to you later.
Good. Bye.
Peace. You too. See you, kid. I have a good friend of mine, one of my lifelong friends. We've been battling for years over our various loyalties to our particular baseball teams, and in the recent years it's gone well for me. But he was chirping last night, so the first text I made this morning at 4:30 was meant to piss his ass off, but he hasn't responded yet. But text dollars, how are you this morning?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing this morning?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. I served with 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines, Lima Company, and never in my life have I seen fascism at this level. Never have I seen a major get placed in charge of our military. Like, this whole thing is disgusting. And so what? Now if you get essayed, that's complaining and they're going to put you out?
Apparently.
But okay, so I don't know if you know this or not. They already do that. Did you know that?
So you mean, well, aside from no, I guess I didn't. I guess I'm curious about what your statement is or what your claim is.
So women who I shouldn't even say complain, report being essayed Most of them get a general discharge or an admin separation and do not get their VA benefits. They get kicked out.
If they just report it?
Yeah, if you report it, a lot of women have gotten kicked out of the military just for reporting it.
Wow.
I don't know if you've looked at, when you have time, look up the numbers. The amount of SA that happens in the military is disgusting.
That I was aware of. Yeah, that I was aware of. But I guess it tracks. Obviously, one of the most racist and bigoted and misogynistic and homophobic and transphobic institutions in our country
100%.
Is the United States military. We know that. Yeah.
But the training facilities, like, we have massive amounts of training facilities. I mean, we've got 29 Palms, we've got Camp Pendleton, we've got Camp Lejeune out in North Carolina. I mean, there is countless amounts of bases where we do our training. They literally replicated cities with Connex boxes on bases so that they simulate, like when we were over in Iraq, excuse me. And that's what we did. The fact that we're putting any troops on the ground whatsoever in this country, it's wrong. It is wrong. And these people are overstepping every boundary that has been set before them.
So I have a question for you. And first of all, thank you for your service. I appreciate you jumping in. From a UCMJ perspective, right? So you're going to be obviously we can only go by what we saw yesterday and from what the reporting is. A lot of people went on the record anonymously to say that this was just crazy. This is authoritarian, and this is the brass. I think it was colonels and above that were summoned. Although I'm not sure. It could just be generals and admirals. I'm not sure. But it was flag officers. I think we can arguably say that. Somebody like yourself. So somebody that's lower down on the food chain. What do you think is the general reaction? Because I have somebody that I've really grown to trust in this space. Her name is the Knitting Cult Lady. Her name is Daniela. She served she grew up in a cult. Then she joined the U.S. Army, and she's got a really interesting perspective on this. And the statement that she's made is that Trump doesn't have the military. Meaning that, yes, the commander-in-chief by position he does, but ideologically he doesn't, especially considering what's happening now. Would you agree with that? And how would you expect people in either active duty or people like yourself who grew up in it, so to speak, and are now dealing with what we're dealing, if that makes sense?
Yeah. Oh, man. This none of this is normal. None of this. Mm-hmm. None of this is normal. I think that the generals, I mean, you could see the looks on their faces. This was it was a massive waste of time and a massive waste of money just to bring them in for a short freaking meeting. I think he has some, because I think it was 60% of the military, sadly, and the veteran community voted for this douchebag. So he may have part of them, but the guys who I served with, because I got out and they stayed in, and these guys are all, command master chiefs, senior chiefs, and they have your and my mentality. So at least the leadership right now, he does not have the leadership, because we've all been to, war. We've all been to combat. We've all done that. These kids that are voting for him now have not. Anybody who's joined since, we left Iraq, for the most part, has not, So you've got these two different ideas of what combat is. So, but no, the generals, I don't think they're on board whatsoever. They are grown men. They are not drones, right? These guys are not drones. Whereas, grown men and women.
Yeah, I mean, I think something you said I think is interesting, though. Just because someone might have cast their vote for him, now they're in this position of watching an authoritarian attempt to send U.S. military to American cities. Seems like that's a bridge too far, even if they voted for him. That's kind of my point, right? You know what that's kind of what I'm thinking.
It's an occupation, man. Facts. I'm just gonna call you facts, but it's an occupation because when we go overseas, we'll go into a city, right? We clear out streets of certain blocks of a place that we want to make our FOB, a forward operating base. So we clear all the houses, boom, right? We build our FOB, we have the FOB. Well, then what we do is we move forward outside of our base and keep clearing out the streets. And as we're clearing out streets, we are bringing in reinforcements. So we are occupying. And that is what is happening. That is what is happening in our own country. Our military is occupying our streets. They are occupying our land. And this is a major violation. And if there's any Trumpers down here that serve, dude, remember your oath. Remember your oath. It is not to the president. It is to the Constitution.
So well said, bro. Thanks for jumping in today. Again, thank you for your service. I appreciate you very much. I just followed you. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Be safe out there, all right? Thanks, man. That's kind of what that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? It's one thing to say, you're going to vote for this for whatever reason. And we know that Fox News kind of mainlines at bases all over the world, right? We know that. So there's that level of, indoctrination, whatever it might be. But the oath, right? All enemies foreign and domestic. And don't forget what the Trump administration is attempting to do. They're trying to say that the domestic threat are people like me. The domestic threat are journalists. The enemies from within are news agencies and the courts and judges and people who stand to have civil rights protected. So they're trying to create the impression that the defending the country against all enemies foreign and domestic, that the enemies from within, the domestic threat, are people like me. People like, again, the courts, news agencies, radical leftists, scientists, teachers, etc. That's their attempt. That's their go-to. And our previous guest was right. It's an occupation. Occupying a city under the premise of lies. That's it. Yeah, teachers, nurses, healthcare providers, people who are in opposition, people who raise their voice, people who say, I think Donald Trump's a fucking Nazi. And I think he will take every opportunity he can to diminish our country and turn it into whatever the fuck that Stephen Miller tells him to. Stephen Miller is Joseph Goebbels reincarnated, but worse, because he's got a bigger microphone. What do you have? Okay, you can have that. Yes, it's an authoritarian state. We have to stop thinking of it in terms of the rise of authoritarianism. It's a full-on boner. It's risen. It's here. Got to stop talking about it in terms of it's coming, because it's here. So the question is, what are we going to do about it? Right? We dissent. We have conversations like this. We call truth to power. We hold our elected officials accountable. We hold ourselves accountable. Right? We make sure that we are navigating through the hellscape of misinformation, propaganda, and disinformation. People like Nitwit earlier, lost in the sauce. Doesn't care what the truth is. Doesn't care what the truth is. Doesn't care. Just wants his narrative to be supported. And that's the hard part. That's the part that I'm struggling with right now, is people are just unwilling to see things that they claim to care about. They actually don't. Air Force retired. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, after listening to that craziness yesterday from both Hegseth and Trump, it just baffles me. It really does, because everything they saying was, like you said before, was on an authoritarian level.
Absolutely.
And the military wasn't built for that. We were not built for that. We were built to defend this country and the Constitution and the country and the citizens of this country. By Trump saying what he said yesterday, talking about the enemy within, that was triggering right there.
Yeah, because we're all the enemy, right?
We're not the enemy. The enemy. I
know.
The deep state is. I said this when he was in his first term. The deep state is him. He's the deep state.
Exactly.
And I enjoyed listening to you because I heard you yesterday when that lady called in. You gave that hypothetical question about the gun, and she had a meltdown. I mean, wait,
She did indeed.
Pew pew. I'm sorry, I should say pew pew. That was interesting. But I'm 67 years old. I've been retired for 24 years, and I still believe in that Constitution, even though it
Thank you for your service, sir.
Even though as a black man, it didn't drug us through hell and high water, but I still love my country, and I will still defend my country. I got told by a young man some time ago last year, he was a veteran. He was real young. He told me I wasn't a veteran because I didn't vote for Trump. I said, because I got good common sense and I'm smart. You know?
Yes, you are, sir. So yeah, I can only imagine, again, thank you for your service, sir. I can only imagine what it must be like for people who truly care about their oath, right? And I've not minced my words when it comes to people who are still hardcore Trump supporters who did take the same oath that you took, and it feels like to me that they're violating their oath because they forgot a fundamental principle that they're there to defend the Constitution, not the office of the presidency, not the individual, not any one person. That you take an oath to the Constitution, period. And when you are still supporting someone with all the things that he's done in response to going against the Constitution, then I think that should be considered breaking the oath.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. But what they're trying to do, as you can see this and I can see this. They're trying to go through this process of saying things because he's the commander-in-chief. Those generals sit there stone-faced because that's how they are trained to sit like that. They are trained to sit there and listen. We are supposed to be apolitical.
Correct.
And we don't supposed to get involved in politics like that to that level. But
exactly.
They gonna make it. They gonna make us involved. But Hesed was he was just everything about this cabinet is just it's a circus. It's a clown show. I agree. I just my heart breaks for this country. It does, really does.
Same.
I love them. I love my country. I gave you 24 years of my life. You have a good day, sir. Okay.
Thank you, sir, for your service, and thank you for your compassion and you've got our respect. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Have a good day.
Sir. Yeah, you do the same. Bye.
Sorry, you can hear it in his voice, right? You can hear it in his voice. People, I mean, listen. We can put for just a moment. Let's put our political differences aside, okay? Well, let's just for the purposes of this argument, let's put our political differences aside. There's no R, there's no D, there's no liberal, there's no conservative, there's no progressive, there's no communist, there's no Marxist, there's none of that. We all live here, okay? From down East Maine to northwestern Alaska, we all live here, okay? We can all make claims this is our country. I don't think that we're the greatest country on earth, far from it, but it is still our country. This is where we live. Everyone should be absolutely disgusted by what we saw yesterday. Disgusted. Claiming that people who are in opposition to a political ideology and agenda are enemies, are threats, are domestic terrorists because we don't prescribe to fascism. People who get angry and their feelings all fucked up because they're called bullshit. They're called fucking names, sticks and stones. Like, everybody should be appalled by this. And like I said this earlier, in particular, conservatives, in particular, libertarians, the ones that would absolutely go 10 toes down for any level of government overreach. And do you suddenly not think that this is government overreach? Occupying American cities with the United States military? How could you get any more overreachy than that? So, if somebody wants to explain that to me, I would love to know the justification. Because I don't see one. I really don't. Jeremy, good morning. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Facts. I love your show, by the way. I watch you every morning. And
thanks, man. Appreciate that.
I just want to talk a little bit more about this thing yesterday, that the Hegseth and the Trump speech that was given and these directives and what it really means for. I'm a veteran. Well, by the way, I'm also running for Congress. I don't know if you're okay with me saying that, but I'm a veteran.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm running for Congress in Alabama, by the way. I'm a border buddy with Victoria, so her district border is mine.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's cool. And what I heard yesterday, and I just joined your live. What I heard yesterday really kind of terrified me about the women and the queer soldiers and sailors and airmen. I mean, just saying that sexual assault has been SA has been a prevalent problem in the military for a long time, and we've struggled trying to get that under control. And what they said yesterday signaled to me that they're not going to take that seriously. Not only that, what your roles are allowed to be in the military are going to be diminished. And you know this, you've talked about this before. They just want to curb people back. They just want to curb people. They want to put women in a place. They want to put queer people in a place, and they don't want you involved in this white Christian nationalist army or military.
Correct. Correct.
Did you guys talk about did you talk about how some of those generals in there, so like many of them probably rolled their eyes and probably caught their breath, but there's one or two in there that probably felt like this might be an opportunity to make a name for themselves. Have you discussed any of that?
I didn't. That's a good point. It'd be interesting though that they're gonna. So obviously, I don't know. Let me ask the question a different way. From what I understood, it was. I believe it was either high-ranking colonels and or generals, admirals, and above. I think that's what is that about right? Is that what you're hearing too?
Yeah.
Like
I don't know if there were any
officers.
colonels. I thought they were all generals, but I thought I saw some listed there too.
Okay, so to answer your question, I think it's an interesting one. So people that have spent their entire career, however long, minimum of 20 years to rise to that particular rank at the minimum. So they put their entire career standing up for the Constitution, defending the Constitution. Again, not the office, not an individual, the Constitution. And now they want to lay in and align with potentially occupying American cities. It's a big risk to take. I think you're probably right. There are some that see this as an opportunity, either to be elevated to the Joint Chiefs of Staff or whatever that might be. But that's that should tell people a lot. If people
I trust. I mean, I shouldn't say I trust, but I have faith that the military leaders in there, they're very well educated, like you said, dedicated their lives. I would say 99% of them in there were. First of all, the speeches sucked.
Oh my God, they're horrible.
They're horrible. Secondly, I have faith that they were overwhelmingly just like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
Like, did he really just say that? Did they really? I mean, but they keep saying it. Like, anyone who's been following it should know they keep continuing to say these things. It's not hyperbole. They just keep saying it more and more directly. Rather, before it was a joke. Now it's just like, yeah, I'm just going to say it. Invade them. Yeah, I need you to invade them. I need you to be on my side. I mean, it was more or less a loyalty pledge, wasn't it?
I agree, Jeremy. I was just going to say that. It's a loyalty pledge to what? Occupying American cities. Think about that, right? It's crazy. Unless you're willing to do that, unless you are willing to go into inner cities to go after the animals, then you're not loyal, and you should consider resigning.
Yeah. I think it was disgusting. Anyway, I appreciate you letting me use the platform. If you ever have time to talk politics with me, I'd love to. Alabama's 5th congressional district, everybody. That's Huntsville, where Space Command is supposed to be.
Do a plug. Go for it. Take a chance. So, go for it. Do a plug.
JeremyTakesTheHouse.org. So I call myself Jeremy Takes the House because I think you got to be forceful here. We got to be direct about what we're trying to do. Our systems of government are under threat, and so we need to take them back. So Jeremy Takes the House. I'm running for House District 5 in North Alabama. That's basically Huntsville is the biggest city, but it's 6 different counties surrounding. So I would love it if you guys would follow me on TikTok, JeremyTakesTheHouse.org, if you want to pledge a donation. But all I really need is just support. So if you know anybody in Alabama, tell them to holler at me.
Jeremy, if you want to send me your Act Blue, are you funding through Act Blue?
I am, yeah. I can do that.
So if you want to message me either through Discord or through just direct message me through TikTok, I'll put the link in the link tree in my bio for you.
That's super cool. I appreciate that so much, Facts.
It's my pleasure, Jeremy. Thank you for jumping in. Thank you for your service and good luck in your race. We got you.
Right on.
See you later.
Take care, y'all.
Take care. All right, bye. I think he's right. Like, I mean, again, you can just watch the crowd. Like, I don't know what the expectation is. Like, are they supposed to stand up and cheer? I think by definition, you're supposed to be apolitical, right? But just from what we saw and just from the little bit of reporting that we got post meeting, they're just like, what the fuck? What the fuck was this? What did we just witness? What did we just see? and why was it like so authoritarian? Well, we know why, because the president's an authoritarian. Hello, Lex. How are you today? Lex? Are you there? Lex?
Me.
Oh, I'm sorry. You might have just connected, but it looks like we lost you. You can request again if you want. I think Lizzie, you're in the box. I'll bring you up in just a second. In fact, I'll bring you up right now. Hold on. Good morning, Lizzie. How are you today?
Good morning. How are you doing? I'm doing good, though.
I'm fine. Thanks for being here. What's on your mind? I see that you're a vet.
I have a lot on my mind, kind of like too much, like overwhelmed on my mind. But
we got you.
I serve from from 2015 to 2020. So both my deployments were both under our current right now. And the shift started to change a little bit. But for the most part, I know like a few people back, there was a veteran on here talking about like the combat deployments. Now we don't have them anymore, and I can attest that I wasn't on a necessarily combat deployment, but unfortunately I was SA'd on one of those deployments. And it wasn't like a I don't want to diminish like my own experience, right? And that's what I'm about to do, so I'm not going to do that. It was what it was. The VA still denies it. And the culture in the military being a woman is hard. But I toughed it out, and it wasn't just like I was in a foreign port. There was no like for me, like it was hard for me to report it. And he said that people that report it can get kicked out. There was a sailor on my ship who had a relationship with an officer. I worked in operations on an aircraft carrier, so I was pretty in the know of like where we were going, but I was able to witness some things, right? So she apparently got pregnant, and they either said get an abortion or we're kicking you out. So she got kicked out and had the baby. There's a lot of like the climate on an aircraft carrier on a deployment is like you're in a small compacted space, but it's a big one, so there's lots of places that people don't look for you. And patriarchy at its highest is upheld there, but not that. It's white supremacy, because that's where it is. So you see racism all the time because people get to just hide beneath their rank. And, they just said that or they can say that and you can't talk against them because, they're higher ranked than you. So a lot of things go unreported. A lot of people get not mistreated, but exploited because of the mistreatment. Like, you get ostracized if you do report something, you get talked about if you report something. So a lot of women don't report, a lot of men don't report. And before I got SA'd, I was like, I can identify a predator, and I was in the works of like being groomed, and my gut instinct, I do not deter from it. I follow it. If anything, I'm more inquisitive about it. And it was an officer that I was actually training, which is wild to me. But I was training him for a position, and he started like asking me questions, started calling me princess, and that's not what you do in the military. Like, that's not my last name. And eventually he got caught sending unsolicited pictures of himself to junior enlisted sailors. So, like, that's just being a woman in the military, let alone being, I can't speak on the experience of being a black woman in the military because I know I've seen the prejudice, the racist remarks, the underlying tones and things. Like, I want everyone to succeed, and sometimes the military is the only option, and at the time it was for me. But seeing how this administration has literally flipped everything upside down, so for me to serve those 5 years, yes, it was only 5, but the things I experienced in a short amount of time was the reason that I got out. I was like, I can't be a part of this. So this administration, it's literally appalling. I know people that have voted for him. I can't understand it. I see how he fooled everybody first by, playing the Trump card by just being, how do I say? He was entertaining the first time. So that's why a lot of people voted for him, because he was entertaining. But that's what he wanted. He wanted you to know he was entertaining. He wanted to, have that wow factor of he's literally reality TV show star as our president, and it's wild.
You're right.
And we are a part of his show now. Like, he's firing everyone left and right. When he was on that show, he talked about Diddy. Yep. What are we doing? So it's that he's brainwashed the masses in such a way that we have to do the work at the ground level and build up. That's the only way that it's going to happen, because they say in the military, follow the chain of command. So, for instance, if someone, if I was a second class, I would go to my first class. So I can't go to them, I have to go to my chief. I've had to go above a chief and go to a senior chief, because while I was pregnant, I was almost forced to stand a watch that would have caused harm to my child. So sometimes people do not care. You have to go above where you're supposed to be, but that was my rant. I can answer questions if you have any, in any of the comments that you see. But
I've got a couple questions for you, if that's all right. And if they're too personal, please don't feel obligated to answer.
No,
well, I'm not going to talk about your assault. I won't talk about that. If you were to going back in time, if you could, what advice? How old were you when you enlisted?
I was 21. So
okay. What advice would you give to your 21-year-old self now about joining or not?
I definitely think I still would have joined, because it gave me an insight which I would have gained otherwise, to know how things work from that standpoint, and to see who's in charge and actually how the military, how we're used. The only thing I would change would be to report on some things that I didn't. But hindsight is 20/20.
Sure.
I would just bring more light to situations that I saw were uncomfortable for most. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
I still would have done it.
Would that same apply to knowing what you know now, knowing what you've been through, knowing what you watched yesterday, and what you hear from the president and from the Secretary of War? If you were to advise young women in particular who just left high school, they not sure what they want to do, what would your advice be about enlisting?
I would give them the blunt truth. You will be pushed past the limits of physicality. Like, yeah, you got to be able, especially like with the Navy, right? You have to be able to swim. And now I see they have life jackets and life floats. So I guess their numbers are really hurting. They're like, if you can't swim, we still need you. But literally, if you're on a ship, you need to be able to swim. So they're lowering standards because they see that people aren't trying to stay in. The retention rate's really, really down. If I'm being honest with you, it has to be if they're lowering standards to that degree. I would understand if it was the Army, but that's boots on the ground. We're talking about on a ship. You need to be able to, in case of,
Sure.
But I would just have to give it to him straight. You'll be pushed past your limits mentally, physically. If you think that you can do a job from within the military that will help other people in it and the people around you in your community if you feel like you're up for that challenge. But I would let people know what they're getting into before they do that, because it's honestly everyone's free will, your choice. You do if this is what you want to do, but no, going into it, when you come out, you will not be the same person. You will come home and people will tell you that you're different than you are.
Lizzie, thank you for your service. Thank you for your bravery and your transparency and your vulnerability, telling us about your story. I think these stories need to be told. I know it's, again, I'm humbled that you're willing to share this with us. We've never met before, and until today, I just followed you. I would encourage you, if you're interested, to join our Discord. We've really built a strong community. Lots of people who experienced exactly what you've experienced have joined our community, and it's been a place just to kind of connect, commiserate, so to speak. Anything else that you'd like to share?
It's hard being a veteran in a red state because I get a lot of conservative men coming at me, talking to me about things that they know nothing about. It's like, you and I both had the same opportunities to go fight for our country that you are saying you love and are so proud about, and I'm fighting for our country for a very different reason. I just had my second baby, and while I was pregnant with her, while I was pregnant with her, I attended a very peaceful protest. So it's like, there's ways to go about doing things in your community. So I would love to be on the discourse to offer some type of perspective, because not a lot of people see this, because not a lot of women want to speak out, because that's what we've been conditioned to do. But,
and it's only going to get worse.
Right. So the more I deep dive, and a lot of it is just being able to be like retaught and reapproach things in a different way and being open to things. But what I'm not open to is racism and bigotry, misogyny. I'm not open to that. That's not a discussion. That's not a debate. So, yeah.
The link to the Discord is in Linktree. That's in my bio, but I've already seen the mods talking about it. They're probably going to reach out to you and just show you the steps as to how to join. Again, we would be honored if you were to join our Discord community, because it's just a space, like I said, it's a space for people to share stories. I'm sure there's other people that have experienced exactly what you've experienced. In fact, I know there are. So it's just a safe space, and we'd be honored to have you join us. But thank you for coming up today and talking to us about your story, Lizzie. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate that, and I hope that it helps anybody that is going through something similar or know someone that has, and ways that you can show up for them.
Again, thank you for your service, and enjoy your new tiny. We appreciate you, and thanks for being who you are. Much respect, Lizzie. Thank you. Have a good day. Be safe out there.
Bye-bye.
I got this. Thank you, Amber. This is from, I think it's relevant to play this now, or to read this now. It's called The Invisible War. It's about it's a documentary that addresses exactly what we've been discussing this morning and Lizzie's experience. The Invisible War is a groundbreaking investigative documentary about one of America's most shameful and best kept secrets, the epidemic of grape within the U.S. military. Trigger warnings. The film, a nominee for the 2013 Academy Awards, paints a startling picture of the extent of the problem. Today, a female soldier in combat zones is more likely to be raped by a fellow soldier than unalived by enemy fire. The DoD estimates there were staggering 22,800 violent schmex crimes in the military in 2011. Among all active duty female soldiers, 20% are assaulted. Female soldiers aged 18 to 21 accounted for more than half of the victims. Focusing on the powerfully emotional stories of grape victims, The Invisible War exposes the systemic cover-up of military schmex crimes, chronicling the women's struggles to rebuild their lives and fight for justice. It also features hard-hitting interviews with high-ranking military officials and members of Congress that reveal the perfect storm of conditions that exist for grape in the military. It's a long, hidden history, and what can be done to bring about much-needed change. At the core of the film are interviews with grape survivors themselves, people like Corey Sioka, who was beaten and raped by her supervisor in the U.S. Coast Guard. Ariana Clay, a Marine who served in Iraq before being raped by a senior officer and his friend, then threatened with death. Trina McDonald, who was drugged and raped repeatedly by military policemen on her remote naval station in Adak, Alaska. And it isn't just women. According to one study's estimates, 1% of the men in the military, nearly 20,000, were assaulted in 2009. While rape victims in the civilian world can turn to a police force and judicial system that doesn't even support them either for help in justice, rape victims in the military must turn to their commanders, a move that is all too often met with foot-dragging at best and reprisals at worst. To make matters worse, 33% of rape victims didn't report the assault because the person they'd have to report it to was a friend of the rapist. And 25% didn't report it because the person that and 25% didn't report it because the person they'd have to report the rape to was the rapist themselves. Many rape victims find themselves forced to choose between speaking up and keeping their careers. Little wonder that only 8% of military sexual assault cases are prosecuted. Is there hope that this broken system can be fixed? Many think so. And they credit the Invisible War with inspiring much needed recent action. This film has been instrumental in bringing the issue to light and providing the impetus for positive change. Independent Lens senior producer Lois Vossen said, since The Invisible War premiered at Sundance, the film has been circulating through the highest levels of the Pentagon, and this was during the Obama administration. 2 days after Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta watched The Invisible War, he directed military commanders to hand over all sexual assault investigations to a higher-ranking colonel. At the same time, Panetta announced that each branch of the armed forces would establish a special victims unit. A congressional panel is set to hold hearings on abuse. So, that's The Invisible War. It came out about 12 years ago, but obviously it's still an issue. And based on statements that the Secretary of War made just yesterday, it's about to get worse.
Hello.
Good morning, Natalie. How are you today?
Hey, fine. How are you?
All right. What's on your mind?
I wanted to provide a slightly different perspective than being a person in the military, but being a military wife.
Okay.
So the same thing, like, I guess for people to be shocked that SA is not rampant or infidelity is not rampant or that it's not being addressed, I guess if you don't know the military, then I suppose it's shocking, but anybody that knows the military, it is not. My experience was not SA, but infidelity. And essentially, and we were expecting our first baby at the time. He was like a year post-deployment. So like, there's a lot of things with that you don't realize, like mentality changing, like and this was like 2010. So he was part of the last group over there for Enduring Freedom, transitioning power and stuff. But whenever, they're over there and they come back, how their mentality changes and stuff like that, just from being in a war zone. But so there was infidelity and stuff, and, I figured that out at 9 months pregnant, and, I was like terrified, shaking, like seeing red, like, what am I going to do? I've got my nursery set up here. Do I stay here and have the baby? Do I, and then go home? Like, what's the best option moving forward? So I tried to talk to therapists like in the military and stuff, and essentially they told me like it was going to be a he said, she said, and that, if I said anything, he'd lose his rank, and that I should just be grateful I have a roof over my head. So that, moving forward, it would not be a smart idea. So it's like the same thing, like you're kind of bullied into being quiet. So it's, I just wanted to put that perspective. It's beyond the people that are just in the military, but people connected to it as well.
Yeah, a systemic problem, I think, as you described it. So, and based on what we heard yesterday, it seems like it's just going to get worse.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing your story, Natalie. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Be safe out there. Have a good day.
Thank you, you too.
I don't even know what to say. Like, so many layers to this that I wouldn't even consider, but I'm glad glad we're talking about it. Hi, Heather.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going. How are you?
Good. I just had a thought in listening to all of this. I really wonder how we are raising our young men. Like, from the time they're children, are we raising them to become rapists? Because it's so prevalent. Like, are people not raising their sons to be gentlemen, to respect? I can't even really put it into words, but like the way we raised our son, we raised him to be an ally, to anybody in need of help. Male, female, trans, gay, whatever. And I just see so much rape going on, and I'm really wondering, how are parents actually raising their sons? Are they raising them, or are they just supervising them to keep them out of trouble?
I think it's a great question. So I thought about this a lot. I was just on a live recently with my friend Santana. We talked about male fragility. We talked about toxic masculinity. And again, this is my opinion, but since you asked, what I see that the prevalence of the grape culture, perpetuated by the red pill effect, perpetuated by what's considered the church's edict as to how a household should be run, that the man is in charge, that comes from the religious hierarchy, in my opinion. So I think the influence of this, that women are inferior to men, a lot of that is rooted in the church. Now, that's not to say that people who are Christian are raising their kids to be rapists. That's not the statement I'm making at all. I'm saying the generalization of oftentimes what we see is the lack of respect for marginalized communities comes from the same people who claim to be Christian.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think a lot of it is that people who grow up that way don't value women. They see women as property. They see women as objects. They see women to serve utilitarian purposes. Make my sandwich, clean my house, birth my kids. So therefore, because they show them no respect whatsoever on the day-to-day, when women are assaulted, it's no big deal because I've got a right to do it. The President of the United States said, I can just grab women by the pussy. The President of the United States diminishes women on the daily. So it becomes something that young men see, young men hear, the red pill effect, maybe it's the black pill effect, the Andrew Tate effect, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So abuse becomes normalized and accepted.
That's sad.
Again, just my opinion, but there's enough information out there that would say that that's it. And like, I'm with you. My boys were raised to be accomplices. I use the word accomplice because I can't claim to be an ally. I have to be given allyship, but they are certainly accomplices.
Yeah,
in the fight against. Yeah, in the fight against, in fighting for their sisters' rights, their friends' rights, their partners' rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's a fundamental difference. And like I said this the other day, this is the time now when people's parenting chops are going to be really tested.
Yeah.
You can't be your kid's friend. I'm sorry, but you can't. You cannot be your kid's friend. You can have many things in common. You can enjoy each other's company, but you can't be their friend. You got to be their parent. And I just hope that happens. I hope people are engaged.
Yeah. I work in retail, and I see a lot of kids come in, and the parents aren't even telling them not to grab things. They grab everything they can grab. They're running around the store. They send them to the toy department to play while they shop, which to me is totally inappropriate. If you're going to be in there with your kids need to stay with you. And I actually have reprimanded parents for doing this. And they give me weird looks. It's like, hey, they're messing up my store.
Yeah.
It just blows me away because when I was raised, we didn't grab everything off the shelves. We didn't scream and run through the store. We would have gotten our butts kicked. And I was the same way with my kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a desire to, again, as your kid's old, somebody made this comment, as your kids age, and sure, you can become their friends. But through the development years, you just can't be. It's just my own particular approach. I'm not advocating for or against it, just how I chose to approach it, and it seemed to work for me. But you're right, Heather. The pressure is on parents. Like we discuss this often in this space about how we know how damaging the patriarchy is to women, and it absolutely is. It's also very damaging to men. And the fact that there's just this perception from the conservative movement in our country, the Christian nationalist movement, that women just don't matter.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have the right to vote. They shouldn't have rights to their body. They shouldn't speak up. They should do what they're told. Should be one vote per household, and the man gets to decide. That's a major fucking problem that we have to address. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Thanks for jumping in today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, no problem.
See you later.
All right.
I don't know. Let me just back up a second. Like, I believe women. Okay, I believe women, and I think it has to start there. and we've created this culture. We haven't, but this culture has been created that women's voices just don't matter. They just don't to so many people. Women's voices just don't matter. I've had conversations with people, women who've been assaulted, right? And they'll share their story emphatically, emotionally, like one we experienced just yesterday, right? That person who was assaulted should be believed. And I will lean in and believe women. At the same time, some of those same people have chosen not to believe the women who said that Donald Trump assaulted them. So how the fuck do we square that? So, and the problem about the constant assaults against trigger warnings, again, I understand. The culture of assaulting women is becoming normalized because the leaders in our country are getting away with it. Crimes against kids, children, young girls, young boys is being protected. The perpetrators are being protected. And the women who've spoken out, girls at the time when they were assaulted, are told that they're not credible. Like, that they're not credible. The entire argument is, let's protect the predators because the victims of the predators are not credible. And we don't want to take a chance in having someone who's not credible to have that person's words used against someone who didn't do anything wrong. Yeah. Polly, good morning. How are you today?
I'm good. How about you?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Do you remember Melanie the singer?
Who?
Melanie.
Melanie. I don't.
Yeah. Well, she did a song called "Look What They've Done to My Song, Ma," and it's very heartfelt. It's got a few different meanings to it, but for me, it sums up. Just switch country with song. Look what they've done to my country, Ma. Look what they've done. And that's it for now.
Thank you, Polly. I appreciate that.
Have a great day anyway. Bye.
You too. Thanks. See you later. I don't think I remember that, but maybe I do. Maybe I'm really, maybe I do. I probably do. There's my head's full of a lot of useless information, but that may be one that just sort of snuck by me. But
hello.
Hi there. How are you today?
Good. I have a little different perspective, and if you want to give me a couple minutes, I'll explain why.
Sure.
Up until probably, I think it was the 1980s, I don't know if you know that every state has a crime report that goes to their state police called the Uniform Crime Report. And until the 1980s, they hadn't even separated out the crimes, right? I don't want to say too many words on your live to get you in trouble.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
So all those sort of things like, A and B's and R's and things that happen to females were not separated out of the entire pool of those types of events, right? So it included males and females. In the 80s, they started to make a distinction over what were DVs. And I think what's happened, and some of the things you were just expressing now about how women are not being respected. Women have always not been respected in those categories, right? Except it wasn't spoken about, because things like you can finish the rest of that word, being attacked by your own family member, right? All those sort of things, you didn't report them. You were told to be quiet. You didn't even tell another family member. It was denied if you did. You were punished if you did. There was a lot of silence around women being abused in a variety of ways. And then there were the back alley ABs that you did when you found out Uncle so-and-so did this to your daughter, and nobody talked about it. And I can give you a litany of examples, and I won't waste your time with that. So I think what's happening now is that in the 80s and 90s especially, when people were arguing that there are more DVs being reported now than ever before, that it was an escalation. In fact, it was not. It was not that the reports became greater because they were being registered as reported, not that there was more actions. It had always been going on and had always been very severe. So now that we finally came out of the closet, so to speak, say in the 2000s, where we were actually talking about it, admitting that these things happened to girls and by church boys too, we were allowed to talk about it. And so during that period of time that we could talk about it, it seems like it's flooded our consciousness. And now it looks like we're taking steps backwards, but we're really standing still, it appears. That we're still in the same spot. Women are still being blamed for telling their stories. They're being doubly and triply victimized by the court system, which has eased up some when they had backed off those statute of limitation dates, right? And let people come and make claims. So there's a lot of things psychologically. The awareness level is so high that it appears that it is increasing and that we're doing these terrible things, but we've always done these terrible things to women. And in the 80s, if people recall, or they don't recall because they're not old enough, or they haven't read about these statistics, it was a very low priority to admit girls to colleges. And that you getting in was something of a, not a quota, but that your numbers were a lot lower of your chances of getting in. Now women operate at more than 50% in almost across the board in almost every level of higher education, whether it be colleges, universities, medical schools, law schools, and the like. And basically, women have pulled themselves up through the process. And now you don't think about that anymore. Back in those days, they used to say that you were a co-ed. Now we're all just students, right? It was a distinction between women getting these rights and then applying themselves and actively going after these rights, and then actively going into the court system and saying, I demand to be heard, and actively getting lawyers and prosecutors to believe their stories. All that fight that went on for 20 years or more is now regressing, but we're still in the same place. You know, there used to be a commercial years ago. It's a vintage kind of a thing if you think about smoking, right? Where Virginia Slims used to say, we come a long way, baby. And in fact, that was a lie, right? We hadn't come anywhere just because we were allowed to smoke. Like, that's not that wasn't like a great achievement.
Good point.
It was really just, you allowed us to indulge in a vice that the rest of you are indulging in, just like all the other things that women are equally indulging in now. So that, when you're talking about lifespan and the difference between how long a man lives and a woman lives is getting closer and closer together, because we're engaging in some of the same equal behaviors that will kill a male, will also do that to a female. But it's not because of our genders, but it's because of being exposed to it. So all of this I'm leading to say is that when people get aghast, I'm always sort of surprised, because they should have been aghast the last 30 years.
Agreed.
And that now us being more aware of it and it being more open, and that the younger generation, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, millennials, saying, listen, we're not keeping our mouths shut about this stuff anymore. Not just with women, with all these things. That the awakening that they're trying to close down and put us back to sleep over is the idea that we're admitting and acknowledging and embracing and saying these things are in fact true and have always been true. That's my whole premise.
It's really true. I appreciate you sharing your perspective on that. It's always existed. It's just now amplified. Thanks for being here today, friend. I appreciate you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me up.
You got it. Yeah, I mean, I think we discuss this all the time, right? I say this every day. It's necessary. System built by people who look like me to benefit people who look like me, to protect people who look like me. And now, because of the amplification of Christian nationalism, which by definition suppresses women in particular, it's just gotten worse. The young men in our country see people who've become incredibly successful in whatever realm getting away with raping women, or the accusations against women that they made it up, or they're, Jezebels, or they should have kept their legs closed, or what were you wearing, or you should have been in that part of town. The realization came to me last night, celebrating my daughter's 18th birthday with her friends. There was 13 girls sitting around the table. 4 of them will be assaulted if they haven't been already, based on the numbers. And I've known these kids their whole fucking lives, most of their lives. 4 of them will be assaulted. That's just what's going to happen. This will be the last birthday for her that I'll be able to. She'll be at college next year during her birthday. And are we gonna? Have we just fallen? Thank you, Cookie. Thank you. And we're being led by people in our country who just don't care. And 70 million people or more follow people who just don't care. They just don't care. And I don't know how we fix it other than talk about it, other than to encourage more stories to be told, other than giving more spaces for women to tell their stories. Giving more spaces for marginalized communities to tell their stories about how the system itself is in opposition to them. A system built on white supremacy. A system built on the patriarchy, which by definition harms people. It's what it does. It's what it does. It harms people by design. And now we've got the Secretary of War, who's a full-on Christian nationalist. Doesn't give a fuck. Doesn't give a fuck about women. Doesn't give a fuck about the queer community. They're in the military. Those people have signed up, volunteer army, to serve our country. And he doesn't give a fuck. It's fucking wild to me. It's wild. Good morning, Iowa. How are you today?
That's a loaded question this morning, Steve.
Indeed.
I'm frustrated. Well, long story short, and forgive me, I've been busy this morning, so I've been in and out of your show trying to catch things. But I had a little bit of a run-in today with a coworker, and obviously a diehard MAGA, and came to my office and why are you supporting giving medical coverage to quote illegals, end quote. I'm like, we're not. So the fact is that the gaslighting from the right is so absurd, and just for people listening, the law is on the side of the Democrats. 8 USC 1611. Anybody happen to know what it is off the top of their head? It basically says If you're not legal, you don't get federal benefits. Period. End of story.
Correct.
So we're not fighting for health care for undocumented immigrants. We are fighting for the health care and the deductibles and the increased premiums that you're going to be swallowing for those people that are on the ACA. So all those poor and working class Republicans in those red states, your premiums are going to skyrocket. Estimated, and forgive me, Steve, I want to say it was like 75, 80%.
It depends. Depending on where you are, but yeah. Yep.
That's what the Democrats are fighting for.
Correct.
Now, the other thing I want to point out is a procedural thing. So right now, the filibuster is in place. Now, what happened 2 weeks ago? Did they not go in and change the parliamentary rules to shove through 48 Trump appointees in one shot?
Yeah, the nuclear option, or whatever the fuck they call it.
Right. So because they have 53 seats, they could, basically by doing that, they can bypass the filibuster. They could do the exact same thing here if they wanted to, but they chose not to.
I think this one's a little bit different because it's connected to the reconciliation package. So you might be right about that, but ultimately it's the Senate parliamentarian who gets to decide on what is subjected to the filibuster. You're likely right about that, Iowa, but there's some nuance to what can be, what the filibuster can be used for and what it can't be used for.
Sure. I mean, I get it, but the fact is they could certainly try to do it.
Sure. Absolutely.
What they're using it for is a political football.
Point. It's a good point.
They're using it as a political football, just like the frickin' border. They haven't done anything. They've been in power for 9 months, 10 months. And guess what? Nothing's been done on the border. We don't have any new legislation.
Of course not.
So again, they're using it as a political football, saying, oh, the Democrats are doing this, the Democrats are doing that. They don't need the Democrats. They have the numbers. They could shove through whatever they wanted, and there's nothing we could do about it. So I'm just tired of the willful ignorance, and that leads me into my last point. And it's not a point, it's a question, just because I actually had this argument with a actual coworker this morning. Why are they so adverse to facts? Why can't they actually read? Why can't they actually read? I think Kipper agrees with me.
He does. Well, I mean, I think the exercise that we went through this morning, I think, is emblematic of that, right? When someone said that they looked at the headlines. It's an example. That's the entire intent. That's what propaganda, disinformation, that's the goal. We're going to make a headline that is so emotionally driven when you use certain words like, illegal invasion, war ravaged Portland needs U.S. military, things like that. And that's all they need. That's all they need. And that's why Donald Trump uses all caps on certain words in True Social posts. That's why he connects the dots between inner city and animals, again, by design, because he knows his base won't look past it.
So I apologize if I came off across a little heated. It's just Don't
apologize, bro.
I've reached my tolerance level.
I'm with you. Don't apologize. We need more people like that. Don't apologize.
But just wanted to point that out for anybody that's wanting to have those arguments with Republicans and MAGA over the next day or two about this whole shutdown. Again, the law is clear. We don't give undocumented immigrants health care. It's just that simple. And again, that's 8 U.S.
At the federal level.
Right, at the federal level.
You're right, at the federal level, correct. Yep.
If the state wants to do it on their Medicaid program, that's on the state. But what he's saying is that it's the federal government that's going to provide this. No, that's blatantly false. And again, and I'm going to double check that, but I swear that they could go in and change the parliamentary rules, and they could just say simple majority passed.
It's very possible. Like I said, just because the initial bill passed under what's called a rescissions package, which again creates new rules as they're trying to navigate this shit through. You could be right, but because there are certain things that are filibuster proof, like judicial appointments and cabinet positions and things like that, and certain things that aren't. But we'll look it up too. Thanks, bro. Appreciate your passion. Don't apologize for it.
Have a good one, sir.
You too. Be safe out there. We'll look into that. I think it's telling what he just talked about, right? We're trying to diminish more people. Hi there, Dania. How are you today? Hi there.
I am good. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
So I just want to bear with me if I'm a little bit nervous. This is my first time, but I want to retouch what the previous person said. So I am an immigrant here. I came and applied for asylum, and I am a type 1 diabetes. I have a diabetes since I was a child. I'm insulin independent. I did get my work permit at that time, and I tried to apply for healthcare assistant through the Wayfair, I think so it's called. But they did not actually approve me, which is I am illegal here. Like I have my document. I got approved to work illegally in a country, but my case was still pending through the immigration system. So even when I got approved for asylum, which is you don't get your green card, you still wait for another 4 or 5 years. It depends when you get approved and receive your green card. I still did not able to apply for student loans, which is the federal loans to continue my school. I couldn't apply for a mortgage or get a house. I couldn't get any assistance through the Wayfair, or I don't know the name of it. Basically, healthcare. I wasn't able to get, where's the other assistant? Cash assistant or any Section 8 or none of that. So that's actually not true. And at that time, actually, 2019, I wasn't working. I was just only working part-time. So I did not have any health care. So I had to buy those type of, bear with me, those type of insulin they sell in Walmart. Probably the people know, which is, it's a cheap type of insulin you get for, I think, $75.
I'll be right back. Continue your story. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Hi, Dania. I'm Grace. I'll continue chatting with you while Steve goes to the bathroom.
Yeah. So basically, those type of insulin you get when you get it without a prescription when you don't have insurance. So unfortunately, I had to use those type of insulin for like 6 months or 8 months, and it caused me a lot of problem in my eyes and complication with my diabetes till I got insurance in 2020, which is through the Obama. The Obamacare.
Affordable Care Act, yeah.
Yes. And that's what I'm on since now, which is based on my income. And after like around 9 years, I got approved and I got my green card just back in 2023.
Gosh.
So that's actually not true. And they do not give anybody, is not legal here, any assistant or any type of, like even if you're disabled, if you're not legal here, they will not help you at all.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Sounds like a very uncomfortable time to be experiencing the asylum in America.
True, yeah. It was a long time, unfortunately. Like it took 9 years to get just my green card. Just 9 years. And I still have to wait 5 more, or I'll say 4 more years to get my citizenship. And I'm married to an American who's born and raised here, but I'll have to wait 4 more years to get my citizenship.
Gosh.
Yeah, unfortunately. And I lost through this process. Unfortunately, I lost my grandma. I couldn't see my grandma and my uncle through that time. Unfortunately, they passed away.
I'm so sorry, Dania.
That's okay.
Dania, thank Thank you for sharing your story with us this morning. I appreciate it. I know
Absolutely.
it's complicated, and I love to hear the human side of it. So thank you for jumping in today. I appreciate you very much for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, bye.
You got it. Take care. Did you want to do a quick mod announcement, friend?
Yeah, sure. If those that are tuning in would be really grateful if you could repost the live, share to your friends. You can poke Steve right in the forehead and it'll give you a whole list of your friends that you can share the live to. And it does it as individual shares rather than a big whole load of shares in one go. And that's really helpful. Also, copy link if you don't have anybody you want to share to. That will work really well. Also, there's Factsstillmatter.site. That's where you'll get all of Steve's merch, including the wonderful t-shirt that he's wearing today. And please tap along and keep commenting in the comments. It helps boost the live out. The little heart means there are only one coin, but they will do a load to help boost the live out in the algorithm, as will the popular gifts. And if you click on the little present box, they will give you some exclusive gifts, and those ones are the ones that really help boost the live out, and there's loads that are only a couple of coins, so they're really helpful too.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you very much.
No worries,
You ready for your slide?
I appreciate you too, Steve. Take care.
Okay. All right. Bye. I want to thank Patricia for your donation on the CA. Said for a good job. And then Jessica, thank you so much for your donation. You said that I'm terrific. I appreciate you very much for saying that. Savage Mom, appreciate you guys. You guys are awesome. Let me adjust this real quick. Let's go there. And bang. Can we bang that out? That'd be great. Thank you, guys. Okay. So just because my mod team's amazing. So this is the deal. The Senate can use the nuclear option to pass a continuing resolution, CR. CR is a type of appropriations bill that temporarily funds government options, and these bills can be subjected to filibuster, which normally requires 60 votes for cloture to end debate and proceed to a final vote. The nuclear option is a parliamentary maneuver that lets the Senate change its standing rules, such as the cloture threshold, with just a simple majority of 51 votes, bypassing the usual supermajority needed for the rule change. How it works. The senator raises a point of order that challenges a standing rule, for example, claiming that the 60-vote cloture requirement doesn't apply. The presiding officer rules against it, upholding the existing rule. Another senator appeals the ruling, leading to a vote where a simple majority can overturn the chair's decision, creating a new precedent that effectively changes the rule for that context. Interesting. That's what Grok provided. So we had that. Yes, Jess. So that's the information that Grok provided based on Iowa's question about whether or not the Republicans could do this on their own. So according to Senate rules, yes, in fact, they could. But no, they wouldn't do that now, would they? Because they want to try to find someone to blame. Senate Democrats are demanding that the tax cuts credits be extended in exchange for their votes to reopen the government, while the White House has repeatedly argued that those demands would benefit immigrants not without legal status. It is a lie, so lazy and so outlandish it's easy to rebut. But again, let me be clear, this is from Chuck Schumer. Undocumented people cannot and will not receive premium tax credits by law. The long-standing federal policy that immigrants without legal status are ineligible for federally funded health care coverage. Okay? So that's what this is about. I have the best fucking mods in the business. I seriously do. And yes, the blushing is real. Sorry. So what we know, based on the information, damn, that got me. What we know is, yes, Republicans in the Senate could have used the opportunity to work around the rules, so they could have passed this with their own majority, and they chose not to. Yeah, you got me. They chose not to. That should tell you a lot, right? That should tell you a lot. We have an opportunity to, I don't know, give people health care. But nope, we're going to try to use this to gain political points, of which they are losing so badly. It is. It's called the nuclear option. Yes. So thank you, Iowa. Iowa's right. It's so fucked up. To me, it's like it's I don't know how do I want to say this. It's not common sense. It's just like we're talking about healthcare. I talk about this every single day, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but we're talking about healthcare. We're talking about healthcare and food subsidies, and the pro-life Christians, of which a lot of them are in leadership positions in the House and Senate and in our government. The pro-life Christians don't want Americans to have health care and American children to have access to food. Because that's what their budget tells you. Thank you, Joe Biden. Don't tell me what your values are. Show me your budget. Don't tell me what you care about. Show me your budget. Don't tell me what's important to you. Show me your budget. And because the conservatives in our government, the Republican, the MAGA, the pro-life fucking Christians, want their base to be focused on hating brown people and queer people and any marginalized community and women, that they will stand there and fucking lie to you so that they can pass tax cuts for billionaires. Donald Trump and MAGA Republicans and the conservatives in Congress and leadership don't give a fuck about the ACA. They don't fucking care. They've got the best healthcare in the world. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a flying fuck. Don't give a shit about it. Because they don't need it. They don't use it. They never liked it. They could never pass legislation to repeal or replace it. But they don't give a fuck. So instead, we've got to make sure, again, when they're in their little covens with the torches burning and the flames burning, they're saying, okay, how the fuck am I zen? I'm not zen at the moment, but thank you for asking. How the fuck can we convince our base that cutting healthcare is okay? Anybody have any ideas? I know. Let's blame the brown people. Everybody good? Do I hear a second? Yep. You know what? Let's juice it up even further. Let's figure out a way to blame black people, queer people, women, the disabled, and every single marginalized community out there. Let's do that. Everybody good? Yep. Everybody sign on? Cool. That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. They had the power, again, thank you, Iowa. They have the power to pass the continuing resolution without one Democratic vote. They have 53 seats. They could have submitted a House resolution to avoid using the filibuster, and they could have passed this on their own. Why wouldn't they do that if it was so important? Gee, I know, because they're fucking racists, and because they're fucking bigots, and because they're transphobes, and because they're homophobes, they needed somebody to blame. We're going to blame Democrats, even though it's on us. We're going to blame them, even though people think it's us. We went through the polling yesterday. Over 65% of Americans believe a government shutdown is on the responsibility of the president and Republicans in Congress. And the rest are Democrats. 65%. They saw the polling. They saw the polling. They fucking know. So we know too. We know too. Anybody on the guest box? Okay. There. No more banging it out. My mods collectively, I won't even say it because I'll get in trouble. Because I'm afraid of them. I'm not. They're awesome. They keep me honest. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate you. You're very kind. Also, Danae. Thank you very much. Let me adjust this. We fight over the stupidest shit. We fight over fucking healthcare. We fight over always a victim. Yes. Your suspension from your role as Secretary of Labor continues until I say so. I just spoke up. I'm going to get in trouble. Senate vote opens on Democrats' government funding proposal. Senators are making their way into the chamber to vote on a Democratic proposal that would reopen the government as well as extending health care benefits. The bill has failed mostly along party lines each at the time as it's previously come up for a vote. So when this fails because Republicans vote against it, who will be to blame them? Okay. Again, this is by design. Like we talk about this in terms of the intention from the right-wing echo chamber. Right, we want to keep people fighting with each other, which is why I've tried my best to try to make it clear here that the fight is not with we progressives, the voters, the Democratic voters. We are not fighting against. Well, we are. We shouldn't be fighting against MAGA Republicans. We progressives, they MAGA Republicans, should be fighting against the motherfuckers who are ripping us all off. The cowards above us who are protecting predators. The cowards above us who are gutting our healthcare system. The cowards above us who are enriching themselves on the back of middle-class taxpayers and lying to all of us. But they don't care. They don't care. Anything to own the libs, right? They will tell their base anything. They will literally tell their base anything. Because they will focus on the worst qualities amongst us, which are racism, sexism, misogyny, transphobia, homophobia, ableism, etc., etc., etc. They will focus on that because it's emotional. Think about the conversation we had earlier today. The person felt a particular way. Sorry. It's all about feelings for them. They run on emotions. They're fueled by whatever it is that their leadership knows will motivate them. We are going to continue to remind our voters that brown people, bad. Black people, bad. Inner city, animals, perfect example. The queer people are bad. And the worst of them all, women. They don't deserve a place in our society. They don't deserve a seat at the table. They should not be in leadership positions. They should not be making decisions for us. They certainly shouldn't be serving alongside our brave warriors, even though we know that women are just tougher, stronger, more committed, more dedicated. Just don't care. They just don't care. That's what they have to tell themselves. That's why they have to cheat to win elections. That's why they have to saber rattle. Because they know if they saber rattle and use big words like warrior ethos, that's going to get their micro dick followers all jacked up. They'll load up on their ED. Hey, Larry, how are you today?
Hey, Steve, good morning. I love that background. When I host a live, I put a little sticker up that says "Believe Women."
Cool, bro.
Every day. Yeah. So, when is the Democrats' press conference today?
When?
Yes.
When is the Democrats' press conference today? I think they're probably going to be doing multiple ones.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm asking because I don't know. And I think it should be every single day.
Yeah.
Because Trump's on TV every single day lying. So we need somebody on TV every single day disputing that and telling the truth. So I'm being a little sarcastic. It's not been happening. So,
Yeah, it's not been happening. I agree, Larry, that's not been happening enough. I completely agree with you. I think it needs to be happening more. Every single day there should be a press conference. every morning with your coffee.
Right. Yeah. And it needs to be somebody besides Chuck Schumer because.
Hey, Larry, excuse me one second. Excuse me one second. Mr. Nice Guy 12345 is in the chat, friends. He obviously needs a hug. So do what you do. Thank you. Sorry, Larry.
That's all I'm going to say. Chuck Schumer is just tries to be politically correct. And it needs to be somebody like out there like Jasmine Crockett. Because if Trump can be blunt and direct with everything he says, we need somebody with that same energy.
To counter. I agree. I appreciate you, Larry, for jumping in today, friend. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
You got it, man. See you later. He's right. I mean, again, messaging, we talk about this all the time. We talk about how messaging is just not the strength of the Democrats. And to be honest, I don't know, we need leaders right now. We need people who are leaders. And, leadership comes in many forms, right? And I think one of the reasons that the Democrats don't score very high on the favorable scale, although it's getting a lot closer, it's Congress basically like 20%. And people's opinions on both parties are around the same now, upper 20s. It's a lot closer. People, by and large, agree with the policies from the left because you can just look at public opinion polls. Like people overwhelmingly support firearm legislation or women's rights to their bodies or climate action, things like that. This is across the political spectrum. Republicans, Democrats, Independents. The majority of people tend to believe more liberal-leaning policies. It's just proven out over history. I'm not making it up. What people are looking for from Democrats is to be aggressive. B-E-A-G-G-R. Anyway, to be aggressive. To show some fucking balls. To prove that they're not a bunch of cucks just walking around just happy with their seat. They want people to stand for something. Like I've said before, I'm sick and tired of fucking table scraps. I don't want my politicians just giving me fucking lip service. I want them to talk about the things that matter. I want people to look at what Zohran Mamdani's being able to do in New York. That he's so popular that he's scaring other candidates away. And the status quo Democrats don't know what to fucking do about it. P-E-A-G-G-R-E-S-S-I-V-E, aggressive. Anyway, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. And that's exactly what we want them to do. That's exactly what they want. Let people in the status quo machine say the same thing. We can't allow communists to take over New York. They don't even know what the fuck it is. They don't even know what the fuck it is. They can't describe it. They can't explain it. They don't understand it. They just literally come up with anything they want. Sorry. So how then do we put pressure on those same people? I think it's pretty simple. We have conversations like this, and we encourage people to go out there and do something. And we encourage people to get off their asses. And whether it be, filming their communities. I think it was great what someone had done in Portland. They drove around the streets of Portland and said, look, this is our beautiful city. This is our beautiful city. 1 square block is where this violence came from. You drive around, you show them. Yeah, aggressive progressives. Yeah, so I'm a nihilistic progressive. That's what I want. Burn the fucking shit down as it is, and then rebuild it and put women in charge. That's it. Seriously. That's it. I want a matriarchy. If we're gonna have a monarchy, then let's make it a matriarchy. Because I can guarantee you, we would have health care. We would be overfunding public education. Women would have rights to their bodies. Marginalized communities would be protected. And that, friends, sums up exactly what conservatives are afraid of. Especially weak-ass white men. That's what they're afraid of. End of the day. They could not. First of all, I've worked with and for many women, and I've watched other people that have come from other industries, and they're on the corporate hierarchy, they're below the women in charge, and they can't deal with it. And I'm just observing, as I like to do, and I'm just like, wow, what the fuck's going on there? You can see the fragility. You can see the fragility, and that's what they're scared of. That's why things like DEI freak them the fuck out. Because they feel like, oh my God, we can't be. I mean, I'm mediocre at best. My mediocrity needs to be prioritized over other people that are far more qualified than I am, far more capable than I am, far more able than I am. I just saw that. Lisa Cook, by the way, gets a stay. The Supreme Court ruled that she can't be fucking fired. So that's a win for her. But seriously, that's what they're afraid of. That's what the patriarchy demands. The patriarchy demands that women do not belong in positions of power. Fuck, the patriarchy doesn't even want women to vote. In many cases, I think there's many people in our country that wouldn't even really want women to exist, to be perfectly honest. Or just slaves at home, so to speak, to serve them. Let me see. I don't know. All right, let me go back to a couple other things I wanted to kind of cover before we get it too deep down this road today. AOC has been a voice, right, that I think we all have grown to respect. I don't think that, AOC, by the way, is not the leader of Antifa, although she's been told that she is. She's taking an opportunity here to say, I'm going to message the shit out of this fucking stuff. So here she is when Republicans are trying to blame Democrats for the shutdown.
I will say, because I saw some senators speculating about this, and I saw some Republican members of Congress saying, oh, well, if we have this shutdown, it's because of AOC. Well, if that's the case, my office is open, and you are free to walk in and negotiate with me directly. Because what I'm not going to do is tolerate 4 million uninsured Americans because Donald Trump decided one day that he wants to just make sure that kids are dying because they don't have access to insurance. Yeah. That's what's not going to happen. Yeah. And so if those senators think that we're having a shutdown because of me, they're free to enter my office and negotiate, because what we're not going to do is allow all of millions of people in this country to not be able to afford their insulin and their chemotherapy. So come strike a deal with me if that's what they really think is going on. I will. See? It's fucking leadership. Hang on a second. Let me just check one thing here. I feel like I might have missed a meeting. Let me just check. Hold on a second. It's possible. These things happen. When you have your own business, you kind of have to be diligent. But I think I'm good, actually. Hang on one second. Yeah. Yep, I'm good. Sorry about that. She's right, though. Put your money where your mouth is. Don't be a cuck. Don't make excuses. Don't try to blame somebody else. Knock on the fucking door. Knock on the door. Try to get shit done. Bicameral government. Republicans don't need Democrats in the Senate to pass the CR. They don't need it. They don't. But here we are. Here we are. So what an opportunity for somebody like an AOC or Melanie Stansbury, or other strong women voices that are in Congress right now. And the conservative right are so fucking afraid. Well, we know that MAGA conservatives by and large are afraid of everything. We've run down the list. So I'm going to make a shirt. I don't think we'd have to be like a XXL to fit everything on there that they're afraid of. They're afraid of paper masks, rainbows, Bud Light. We've gone through books, science. Like, we know the list. Think about all the things they're afraid of. We've run down the list. And at the top of the list, are women. At the very top of the list, MAGA conservatives in general and Christians are afraid of women. That is wild. It's true. Now they're supposed to be afraid of Tylenol. Equity and empathy. Yeah, black women in particular, no doubt about it. They're afraid of lists. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, I've got a few more things here I want to play for you guys. All right.
we didn't get into all the statements made from the press, but I wanted to play you a speech from JFK that I found. He's speaking about the First Amendment. This dates back to April 27th, 1961. Okay? So this is JFK. This is how the president at the time talked about things in his particular way, the way he spoke about, don't tell me. I used to do a pretty good impression. I'm not going to try it now because he's about to speak. But just listen to his words.
Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, to state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion.
President Kennedy called the press, quote, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not to entertain or echo opinion, but to inform, arouse, hey now, reflect, lead, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. And the conservative right is afraid of speech. The conservative right is afraid of people peacefully gathering. The conservative right, the free voice, the free speech advocates are afraid of criticism, are afraid for somebody sharing an opinion that is different than theirs. Yep, it's true. All of it. So how then do we address it? By throwing it right back in their face, by speaking more, by assembling more, by criticizing more, by calling out truth to power more, by doing something, by doing more, by holding them accountable, by holding ourselves accountable, by holding our elected officials accountable, by not accepting status quo, by demanding fucking change, by going into spaces, whether it be here or other spaces, especially as a privileged white man, going into spaces that are either hosted and or overwhelmingly participated by members of marginalized communities. And as white men in particular, going to those spaces and shutting the fuck up. Just sitting there and fucking listening and fucking learning. And stop with the bullshit. And start understanding that people who look like me need to start using their goddamn fucking privilege. And we don't, fellas. And if you want things to be better, that has got to start with us. We said this a million times. Every time democracy is under threat, black women are the ones that always fucking show up. First in line. Even though in our system, they're also at the front line of abuse. Racism, sexism, misogyny, rape, assault, diminishment. And yet they're standing there every fucking day and fighting for us. And what the fuck are we doing? The single biggest demographic that still votes conservative are white men. The same group of people who are the same group of white men that are committing the most crimes, that are committing the most assaults against women, that are ones that are responsible for the most of the political violence. It's over and 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 over again. It's the same thing every fucking year. It's the same thing every fucking day. Those same people, the ones that are committing the crimes, the ones that are still voting conservative, are the ones that are attempting to blame every other group in the country for the things that they're doing. How many days could we go without finding one religious leader, community support person who wants to criticize the trans community, and yet they're the ones that are committing crimes against kids? Elected Republican officials, church leaders. It's the same thing every fucking day. We can't go a day. In fact, there's a website, goppredators.wordpress.com. Links in our bio. The links in our Discord someplace. It's fucking wild. And what do we do? What do we do about it as an electorate? Nothing. We're lazy. I've said this before, and I think it rubs people the wrong way. We deserved Donald Trump as a nation. We deserved it because we didn't fucking show up. We took shit for granted. We sat back and we were apathetic. We were lazy. We were acting entitled. We looked for perfection. And this is what we got. This is what we got. This is what happens when people don't show up. This is what happens. Didn't learn our lessons the first time. Jaybird, I just sent you an invitation. You had a lot to say in the chat. Step up. Defend it. I dare you. You won't, though. This is what you get what you pay for. When you don't participate, and you don't let your voices be heard, then this is what you get. So we have to own that. Democracy is not a spectator sport. You have to be involved. There is no excuse. People didn't learn their lesson after 2016. People didn't learn their lesson after 2024. Are they ever going to learn? Collectively, are we ever going to learn? See, Jaybird's a coward. Another coward. It's easy to chirp from the chat, but you can't address your own. You can't address your own shortcomings. Our power lies in our vote. Our power lies in our voice, too. Air Force retired. Our power lies in our voice. I'm here every day, and I will continue to do this. But other people have to do it, too. It's not just about this space. It's about in your community. It's about what you're doing. So when we use the argument or when we use the line, do something, people can interpret that any way they want. To some people, doing something is running for office. To some people, doing something is participating in democracy. They may have never voted before. To others, it could just be driving around their city, filming it to show people how beautiful it is, that it's not this war-ravaged fucking zone of criminals. It's an American city. Some people decide they're going to volunteer after school. Some people decide they're going to change professions so they can do more. There's all kinds of things that we can do. Like the question is, though, are we going to do it? I am grateful, but at the same time privileged to be able to have big audiences who join our show every single day. There are women who are creators in this space who deserve the same levels of crowds that we get in here as well, and they don't get it. They don't get it. Why is that? Why is that? Women supporting women? Sure. Men supporting women. Need to see more of that. Again, the conversation I had yesterday, right? That ended up spewing over into a direct message chain. A person who demanded that we believe the fact that they were assaulted. And I do believe you that you were. But you voted for someone who assaulted women. And you voted for someone and you claimed in the same breath that you want women to believe, you want people to believe you, but yet you didn't believe the women who made claims against him. So square that for us, please. How does that make sense? That's the cult. That is the cult. Hey, Shane, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good, Steve. So 2 days worth of live conversations. And the person that you had up yesterday who was so adamant about voting for the guy and all of that is a part of the white Christian patriarchy. Mm-hmm. It's telling them that they can do no wrong. And one of the next time that you're faced with a person like that that's getting angry and telling you about all the times that they've been assaulted and why they voted for the person they voted for, I want you to ask them a question. And it's a really important question that you didn't ask. And that was, were all those men that assaulted you conservatives? Because I bet you they were.
I don't think that should matter.
No, because it's what it is they're not faith. Goes back to your caller today. It comes back to your caller today that was like, I just read the headlines. So we know that there's 50, 60, 70 years.
Yeah, I mean, well, I understand what you're saying, Shane, but yeah. Okay.
Let me just land the plane and then it'll come to reality. So we know that there's been 50, 60, 70 years of this coming. And what we're faced with right now with the re-education process and the deprogramming is we're now fighting against the literal education system that we have been under for 40 years. And it's the bold text, basic, learning system. We didn't.
Yeah, I just want to. Right, but Shane, I need to. Shane, I need to call something out, bro. I don't agree at all with the statement you made about whether or not a victim should be questioning whether or not their abuser is a conservative. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. We don't question that. It's irrelevant. That again, that puts more onus on the person who's assaulted. It's irrelevant. So I would caution you. I think I understand what you're trying to do there, but that just diminishes the survivor even more. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is the hypocrisy that this particular person had. Because let me finish. Let me finish. Hold on, Shane. Hold on. Let me finish. What matters is this person demanded to have her story heard and believed. And I do. I believe women. Simultaneously, she chose to not believe other women who were assaulted by the person that she voted for. That's the issue.
I heard the whole. I was here for the whole conversation.
Okay.
Usually, I start listening to your live at about 5:30 a.m. California time.
Okay.
So I see most of your.
But you understand what I said? But do you understand what I said about the statement that you made is okay?
So hold on a second, chat. I worded that improperly. What I meant to say was exactly what Steve said. I did not think through how to put it into proper verbiage what I was conveying or what my thought was. So forgive me. What I meant to say was exactly what you said, was the hypocrisy of not believing other women because of this indoctrination by the conservative MAGA party, by the patriarchy, by the Christian nationalism. You know, if you were to point out the fact to a lot of these people, like, your church has an insurance policy specifically for clergy doing wrong things.
Correct.
So, like, and all statistics, consensus, a majority comes within the conservative party. And once again, correct. I'm an ex-Republican, and it's taken me years. I still fuck up all the time.
We all do. We're human. But what you just showed was accountability, that you realized what you said was wrong and you may not have meant to say it, but you corrected it. That's what we're trying to do here. People have to be accountable for the things that they say and their actions and their words, and because they matter, right?
So what got through to me from a lot of people was pointing out the calls from in the house. And if we can start doing that more, if we can start pointing out the calls that are coming from inside the house, that starts with chipping away at the facade. And then once you get past the facade, you can start instilling those little tidbits of fact. But when they get hysterical like they did earlier and yesterday, that facade has already been broken. And now they're just hiding behind rage. They've reached the anger stage of realizing that they are supporting something that is detrimental not only to themselves, but to the country.
Here's a little note for you. Oftentimes the word hysterical is used to as a descriptor for how women react to a certain situation. So my suggestion would be just to not use that.
Fair enough. I didn't realize I said that word.
You just did.
I did not even register or hear myself say that word.
It's all good. Just, we have to do that. That's something that's what we're trying to do. Well, if we're trying to change speak, that would be one thing, because oftentimes the right will like to do, or people who are anti-women will say things like that, especially when it comes to black women. So just be mindful of that. We're all trying to learn, bro. We're all trying to get better.
So again, I did not even realize I said that.
It's all good. Doing the work.
This is what I will say. This is a screw up. This is a non-cognitive mistake, and that's what the right is mad about when they say tone policing and language policing. Is that right there? And I appreciate that. I appreciate being called out for that, because it gives me the opportunity to better myself. However, they see it as a part of their culture.
Correct.
They see these, detrimental slang terms and words that are meant to be hurtful as a part of their culture.
Yeah, because it diminishes. You're right, because it diminishes to start. It's just one of those things. Like I said, we're all trying to be better. That's all we can do. All we can do is learn from the things that we do. And there's plenty of times that I've had to be called out on things, and I think it's necessary, because you and I, as YT men in America, Shane, we have all the privilege. We hold all the power. So it's on us to be able to address it and then call out each other. And I don't think you did anything wrong. It's just that you're learning. We're all going through this. We're all deconstructing from everything. We have to deconstruct from the patriarchy every single day, right? And that's why we call it out. And I know you're up here, somebody who's willing to hear it and willing to learn. And that's what, and I know the chat appreciates that, and I do too. So good on you for first of all, being willing to take some feedback and not making it personal. Like you're not like freaking out. You're just like, oh, didn't realize that. Good call. Appreciate you.
No, that's a part of deconstruction. That's a part of the deconstruction. And honestly, the last Republican presidential candidate I voted for was McCain.
He's a good man. I don't agree with his politics, but he's a man of integrity.
I mean, I was born and bred Republican Union, so Mormon.
Oh, you get it. Thanks for jumping in today, bro. I appreciate you for being here, and thank you for being vulnerable. That's how we move the needle. Thanks again, bro. Appreciate you. See you later.
Thank you, Steve.
You got it, man. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you out there. It's kind of the point. So if there's other men in the chat that are listening, it's those kinds of words, because that is then used as a derogatory term when trying to describe a woman who might just be flat out fucking angry at the moment, just like pissed off about something, which is, we're all pissed off about shit, but you don't ever use hysterical when you're talking about a man when they're upset. You only use it when you talk about women. And that's just another little microaggression when it comes to how the misogyny and the patriarchy works to fuck up our society. So thank you for being so amenable. I appreciate it. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good, just busy morning. I wanted to come up because when I heard his statement, I thought it would be really it would be a good time to remind people that deconstruction doesn't always happen with victims. They don't always deconstruct what's happened to them. And it can push them into a mindset where they can feel their own victim, like where they were a victim and survived that, but they won't register the suffering for other people. So this is a good time to remind people that does happen. A great example is my grandmother. She is a victim of marital rape. She is a victim of abuse of her daughters from her husband. And this is something that's very interesting because she is a MAGA Republican, and in her brain, she can't see other people's victimhood because it is because for whatever reason, she's blocked it out. But that deconstruction, that lack thereof deconstruction, the lack of that emotional intelligence has caused more of it. Now, she does listen to crap news, which has made her more aggressive, more likely to victim blame, etc. But I think it's really important to remind people that, because there are different paths for victims. Every victim has a different experience. Every victim has a different coping mechanism, and how they might deconstruct that, how they might process their own emotions. And it's very interesting, because we have to remember the intersectionality too when we're talking to women, because women are just as capable of, participating in the patriarchy, just as capable of being internalized misogyny, that kind of thing.
Go ahead. I was going to say, by the way, before you go any further, I was going to comment on this as well, but the mods beat me to it. They all wanted me to let you know that your hair looks fabulous, and I would agree.
Thank you. I straightened it. It's not going to be this color tomorrow, guys. I'm going to officially retire the dark hair color tomorrow.
I'm glad you said what you said about women participating in the patriarchy, right? I mean, that is something that I think goes without saying, and we see it in a lot of our spaces. And I want to call out, I'm not sure if Killshot Kristen is in the chat today, but she always does a really good job explaining that, and how oftentimes it seems like there's just an acceptance of it. Like I'm supposed to participate in the patriarchy, if that makes sense, right? Just how that's the conditioning, right, Victoria?
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, I find this, especially running for office, where I find myself getting questioned in ways that I would have never participated in now. But even though I catch myself sometimes participating, and we're all, I was raised in the patriarchy. I was raised in misogyny. I was raised in that aspect. So sometimes it's hard, and I catch myself. With my friends who have daughters, and I have 2 boys, being like, boys aren't easier to raise. It's a whole different shit show. It's just a shit show in different form. And I have to remind people that, because daughters I don't see it as any different. I don't see my niece as more stubborn than my boy, but because of the patriarchy, because of misogyny, she's treated differently. She's treated like she's a more difficult child, and she's not. She's just a 5-year-old doing 5-year-old shit, and she just happens to be born with the sex female. So it's very much like having to push back against that all the time, letting my boys cry, letting them do that. And it's so in our society, it's really hard. It's really hard to break those narratives. It's really hard to, push back, but we have to, because the patriarchy negatively affects men just as much as it negatively affects women. We just understand that women suffer more because of the patriarchy. Yeah, and I think that that's important. And remembering that not everyone's deconstructed. I have to be reminded of this all the time when I talk about my anti-racist journey, is that sometimes I have to remind myself that not everyone's deconstructed. And I might be talking at a high level, and they don't recognize what I'm talking about, because, we're all learning.
We are all learning, and that's why I'm glad that Shane was here for part of that. It wasn't criticism; it was just an opportunity for us to kind of just change our views on things, right? And I appreciate you saying that. You want to plug?
I do want to plug, and I also want to give you some flowers, because we have to trust our community. We have to trust our fearless people who come up and do this daily. I think that people forget that we're human and we're still learning, but also we have to trust that you can stop those conversations, because he's going to take it more seriously from a man than he's ever going to take it from a woman. That is part of the patriarchy. So I want to give you your flowers, because you did a great job calling it out. You were watching the chat. You were making sure you're doing that. And, we love you, Steve. My plug right now is, guys, I'm Victoria Broderick. I'm running for Congress, and I want to talk about myself today. But I will first do a little plug. If you guys want merch, because this is the smartest chat, I do have merch. I literally have a candle that just speaks to my, it says "Burn It, Victoria for Congress." So, if anybody wants some, victorious sense of humor, you can buy a candle from my merch store in that bio. As well as much as I'd love to talk about myself, Tennessee is in the middle of a special election. Why is this important? We are trying to flip Mark Green's seat, and we have a phenomenal candidate for Congress her name is Afton Bain. She's absolutely fabulous. She is a progressive activist, all the things. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Anyway, the special election is up, and Democratic voter turnout is crap, guys. It is absolutely garbage, and we need Democrats to show up. We need you to pull a primary ballot for the Democratic Party. This helps us know if you're voting for Democrats. Also, it means that we can see that engagement and we can make our voter rolls better. And past that, you guys want change, and Afton is change. We have great candidates all the way through the primary, but obviously I have a preference. If you all want to meet Afton on Friday night, I am doing an interview with her and Vic Myers, Resistor Vic, here on probably TikTok, but if not, it will be on YouTube and on Facebook. I will post details about it. Guys, we've got to get voter turnout in Tennessee because these seats are flippable. They are so flippable. And if you want change, we have fantastic candidates on the ballot. So please, if you know anyone in Tennessee, tell them to get out and vote if they are in District 7 in Tennessee. Now, this is a gerrymandered district, whatnot. We need change. And that will also help my election in 2026 because I'm going to Congress to make it someone else's problem.
If you want help with that, let me know.
Yeah, I'll text you because we just got that set up. Vic and I have been working on it in the background. And I've also reached out to a couple other people. So if anybody wants, reach out to your favorite creators and tell them to help support Afton. We need progressives here in Tennessee. This is the woman who led the grocery tax bill here in Tennessee, trying to stop corporate loopholes for grocery taxes. So she is absolutely phenomenal. We adore her.
I love that. And we love you, Victoria. And your hair does look fabulous today. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you.
Bye.
You ready? Bye. That's Jesus. Sorry, I'm not looking at the Discord. I love that. That's an example of doing something, right? Even participating in a town hall, even participating in just watching a candidate talk, because you might hear something and be like, "Fuck, I want that." Why can't we have that in our district? Why can't we communicate? Why are those messages not getting through? So, yeah. Good time for one more guest. Hi, Michelle. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Well, a lot, but I'm not going to trauma dump on you. I think this last week in general has been really hard on a lot of people. So I want to know, empath to empath, how are you able to decompress and kind of separate all the chaos and everything from your everyday life and go about being somewhat normal or happy in a sense? How are we doing this? Because I'm grateful for your community. I think your community has been fantastic and such a great support system for me. But I am so emotionally drained from all this. How are you doing it?
It's a great question, Michelle. I'm glad it comes off that way, but my mod team knows me that I really take things hard sometimes. I always worry about, as is, you can relate to this, I worry about other people more than I worry about myself. I do have a lot of hobbies. I mean, I believe in grounding. These are just little things since you asked. My socks are off as quick as they can, and my feet are in the grass, and my feet are in the dirt, and I go out and spend some time with my dog, or I grab my guitar. I'm also busy. I also run a business, and I have a lot of work that I do. That kind of keeps me focused. I've got hobbies. Like I said, I play guitar. I'm involved with with a play that my daughter's in. I direct the school play. So I've got a lot of outlets. I'm pretty good at compartmentalizing stuff. I spend time doing this for the show, which means I have to kind of be willing to kind of go down the road of what I might expect if I bring up a topic like this. Humbly speaking, I feel like I have a purpose. I've got a background in media, think I'm pretty well spoken. You know, I care about certain things, and I feel like it's a purpose for me to have these conversations every day, the good and the bad. So there's days I get off the show and my mods check in on me, and I'm an absolute fucking mess. I'm an absolute mess. But that's what I signed up for. That's what I signed up for.
Yes. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And even just reading the tips in the chat of other things. I've been trying to find projects around the house to keep me busy outside of, caring for my special needs boys. But like, I fear for their futures and their safety and their well-being. And I find it difficult some days to even just close my eyes at night because I'm worried about what this administration, the downfall that we're going to face, the news that's going to come up on my feed the next morning. And I'm, you are a breath of fresh air to me. Your entire community, your mods are wonderful. I
thank you.
I look forward to watching you every day. Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you, Michelle, for saying that. I would agree. Don't say that too loud to the mods. We don't want it to go to their heads. But I agree. Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate you very much for saying
fantastic.
that. They are.
I appreciate you all. Thank you.
I appreciate you. See you later. Have a good day. Take care. It's very kind. Listen, everybody's got to find their thing, right? Everybody's got to. The difference between, I think, how we approach this is that we who are paying attention to politics are much more engaged in it than the bulk of people in our country. And we've developed a community here, and people kind of come to us and rely on us to have our these conversations. My opinions are my own. Like I don't speak for my mods. We challenge each other. I've been very, 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 very public about how my opinions are mine and mine alone. But that's because we're engaged in this shit, right? We're engaged. We see things that are just. I see things that are just horrible that I don't want to see. Like I'm tired of the way society treats women. I'm tired of how our society treats marginalized communities. I'm tired of other white men not realizing their own privilege and not willing to stand up against it and to call it out and then complaining about it. So most people are not engaged like we are. And I don't recommend becoming as engaged as we are because it's not always good for your mental health. But like everything else, you got to find distractions. You got to find hobbies. You got to find things that give you joy because joy is resistance, whatever that might be. Some people like to read a book. Some people like to do yoga. Some people like to play guitar. Some people like to ride motorcycles. Whatever that is, do more of it. And in particular, do things that help not only yourself, but the community around you. It's a good spot to stop. Everybody's got to find their thing. Whatever your thing is. Whatever your thing is. Find your thing. Whatever it is, find it. Who we're going to raid? We are going to raid. Who we want to raid, friends? Let's raid Olive. Okay, we're going to raid Olive. Please go tell her that we said hello. You guys literally are the smartest chat on TikTok. We talk about this often with our mods. Just real quick, I'm going to say this. We can have these complicated and intense and deep dive types of conversations because you guys are smart and you get it. And it's going to force you to think. And I have no expectation that you're all going to agree with me. In fact, I don't want you to. I want you to challenge how we think about things and how we talk about things because that's how discourse happens, right? And I've got the best fucking mods in the business, bar none, and I'll fight anybody for it. I love you all very, very much. Please tell Olive we said hello. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Until then, friends.